Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Thursday. I'll tell you, sometimes I lie on this show and I say we got a big show lined up. Guess what? I'm not lying today. I'm actually telling the truth. We do have a big show, and so glad you could join us. We are broadcasting live also on YouTube. Check out our YouTube page, The Vegas Take. You want to talk about some interesting guests. I will get to our in-studio guest in a moment. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, the Mooch himself, Anthony Scaramucci, will be joining us. Boy, do I have a lot of questions to get to with him. In the 10 a.m. hour, John Kasich, former presidential candidate. Some think he will run again. We will get to him coming up in the 10 a.m. hour. Coming up at 10:30, actor, comedian Tom Arnold will be joining us. And then hour number 3, Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports, our special guest in studio. Certainly, we've been promoting it this week. It is attorney Michael Avenatti. Of course, dressed to impress once again. Compared to us, we look like schlobs. Michael, thanks so much for being here. How are you?
You know, I was doing pretty well, but is that a Nike shirt yet again?
Okay, I made a mistake this morning.
No, that's Jumpman.
Well,
that's Jordan brand.
It's the Jordan logo, and as I was driving to work today, I said, God, did I do it to Michael again? Did I wear a Nike shirt? It was totally unintentional.
It's a borderline call, but I guess we're going to look the other way today.
Fine, fair enough. I did it again. JD, you wore a Nike shirt last time.
Yeah. I didn't think about it last time. I've got a Peter Millar win shirt on today, though, so I'm feeling a little better.
I mean, with the amount of success you guys are having on the show, you would think the station would give you maybe like a stipend for, you know, some T-shirts or something.
Phil Knight is paying me he sponsors the show. So my apologies to you.
Well, he's not paying you enough.
No. Well, that's for sure. I don't even know where to go with that one. But all right. So Michael, a lot to get to. Obviously, we're going to talk about the impeachment inquiry. And I know obviously you're friends with Anthony Scaramucci. He's going to be joining us in a little bit. I know you're going to have some questions for John Kasich and of course your buddy Tom Arnold. That's always going to be fun. Why don't we start with the debate last night? And I know that you are a Joe Biden supporter. So I want to play a little Joe Biden audio. But before we get to that, what were your thoughts on the debate last night? Who do you think did the best in that debate last night, and who do you think struggled a little bit?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think there's too many people on the stage at this point. I mean, we're in mid-November right now. You've got the Iowa caucuses around the corner. I mean, there's far too many people on the stage. A number of those people, in my view, need to drop out of the race. They're sucking up dollars that could otherwise be used by candidates that are competitive. And frankly, I'm a little disappointed that the Democratic Party has allowed that many people to stay in the race this long. In my view, it should be down to 5, maybe 6 people tops running at this point. It just doesn't make any sense. It dilutes the messaging. It dilutes the ability of these candidates to really be heard. And I think ultimately it is not a positive for the Democrats.
I agree. And now you have others that are entering the race, including DeVal Patrick, who tried to, the former Massachusetts governor, this was yesterday, he did some sort of event, a political campaign event, and he had to cancel it because there were only 2 people that showed up. He had to cancel it about 10, 15 minutes before. And what do you make of some of these people that, like the Patricks of the world, that are entering this race so late? Let's be honest, he has absolutely no chance to win. Why are they doing this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he's got no shot this time around. I have a lot of respect for him, frankly, and I think that he could have made a potential run had he got in some time ago. It doesn't make any sense at this point to get in that late unless you've got considerable name ID and you're a known quantity. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to put together the organization, raise the money, and get the splash that you're going to need in order to make an impact. So, why is he doing it? I'm sure it's coming from a good place, but I'm sure he's also doing it for ego. Like I've said before on the show, James Carville told me last year when I was thinking about running and we were having discussions about what that might look like. He joked with me. He said, Michael, do you know the only cure for someone who wants to run for the presidency of the United States and seriously considers it? And I said, what was that? And he said, embalming fluid. So, and there's some truth to that. And, I'm sure that ego has a lot to do with it. And I'm sure that ego has a lot to do with the fact that a number of these people on the stage last night know they can't win. Mm-hmm. But, you can get addicted to the crowds and the attention. and being on that debate stage and the thought that you might be the next president of the United States. And I think that's why a number of them haven't dropped out.
Well, it's interesting to consider because even Beto O'Rourke, who actually had a lot more face time and publicity than some of these candidates on stage, he got the cue that he didn't have a chance. Why haven't a couple of these candidates, despite the fact they're not getting enough publicity, realize that?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I thought Beto stayed in the race far too long. I mean, I think he made a critical mistake in that he didn't get in the race early enough. He didn't use a lot of that momentum that he had built up in Texas. But he also had set himself up for a very big fall because he was not going to get the adulation running for the presidency as he got in connection with running against Ted Cruz. Now, as it relates to the other candidates, a lot of it comes down to money, frankly, what their burn rate is, how much money they're able to raise, and whether they're able to survive and stay in. That's really what it comes down to, because as soon as you run out of cash, you're basically done. You're out of the race. And so, but I think the Democratic Party should have been a little smarter about this in how they set up the rules for the debate and what you had to poll at. What they should have done was, it's great to have all these preliminary debates, but in my view, by now, it should have been, look, we're going to do 3 polls, and the top 5 candidates in those 3 polls, that's who's going to be on the stage. Maybe it's 4 candidates, maybe it's 6 candidates, but you got too many people on the stage that just don't belong there.
And they're always rushed.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they're always rushed. So you just mentioned a little bit about some of these candidates maybe being addicted to the crowds and the energy and the TV appearances. Do you feel like you told me a little bit yesterday that there was one day where you made 17 TV appearances? Do you feel like you had a little bit of that too? Is it addictive when you're making all these TV appearances and everybody wants to get at you and everybody wants your 10 or 15-minute interview, so on and so forth? Do you feel it's a little bit addictive because there's not many people on the planet that went through that stage that you went through, where literally every single network, every single big radio station wanted to get you on? What does that feel like?
Well, I mean, it was a whirlwind. I don't think actually in 2018 there was anybody in the world that was interviewed more than I was, and that includes the president. I think I was the most interviewed person in the world on television in 2018. Certainly it's addictive, but I think it's really important not to get too high because otherwise when bad things happen, you can also be too low. I learned from my trial experience over the years that in a trial, you have all kinds of range of emotions. You'll have days where you think you're just crushing it, you're the greatest attorney known to mankind, and you'll have other days that you're looking for the tallest building. You want to jump off it because you got your ass handed to you.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the mentality that I brought to 2018 and what had happened. I was constantly trying to check myself and not get too caught up in it. And I actually think I did a pretty good job of it. It wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought I did a pretty decent job. But the reason I was able to do so many interviews and have, on the hour and go on all these television shows is what you see is what you get with me. I didn't have to get in character and pretend to be something that I'm not. Otherwise, you couldn't do it. It would be exhausting, right? So it was just sitting down and being myself and speaking the way that I speak, and it resonated with people. I was very fortunate.
No doubt it did.
It was a good time.
No doubt it did. Okay, let's get, if you're just joining us, we're joined in studio by attorney Michael Avenatti. Let's get to the debate last night. I want to play a little bit of audio for you. You have been a supporter of Joe Biden. You believe he has the best chance to take down Donald Trump for a number of different reasons that you've spoken about on this show. And so let's talk a little bit about last night. He had a few mistakes he made, gaffes, whatever you want to call it. This is Joe Biden yesterday talking about the support of the only black woman in the Senate. Let's play this audio, and I want you to listen to it.
3 former chairs of the Black Caucus, the only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate, a whole range of people.
No,
my point is,
that's not true. The other one is here.
I said the first. I said the first African-American elected. The first African-American. So my point is.
So basically, you get it. He was trying to say the first black woman. He said the only black woman. Now, we understand he made a mistake. Okay, but it wasn't the only mistake he made. I want to play you another cut.
Well, I think what he was trying to say was the only one at that time. Right. Which was true.
He didn't speak it correctly.
Right, because Senator Harris had not been elected at that point.
But as you know, when you're on a national stage, people are going to criticize you if your wording is incorrect. I want to play you something else that I thought was a little bit more troubling and really weird. He's talking about domestic violence. He's describing domestic violence. Have a listen to this.
No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman in anger other than in self-defense, and that's rarely ever occurs. And so we have to just change the culture, period, and keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it.
Okay, now, Michael, you're supporting this guy. I understand why you are. But what the hell is he thinking using those words?
It was a major screw up. There's no question. I mean, in that context, I mean, it was terrible. I mean, how do you defend that, right? I mean, it was terrible. It wasn't purposeful. It was a really bad word choice. And, you know, he's prone to do things like this from time to time. And that's been, you know, kind of his modus operandi over the years. You know, he's prone to gaffes. But look, I'm going to go back to what I've said, and that is that I do believe that he is the best possible nominee of the people that are running right now to match up against Donald Trump. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But the predominant reason is because when he goes into the key swing states, and when you talk to voters in these key swing states, they love Joe Biden. They love Joe Biden. They see Joe Biden differently than they see a lot of these other nominees. I think there's a bunch of people on that stage who perhaps would make a better president right now than Joe Biden. But they don't have a shot in hell of beating Donald Trump. So if what you want to do is beat Donald Trump, and I think that's the goal. The last time I checked, that's the goal. That should be the goal. You got to win before you can govern. And if you want to win, you got to go with the person that gives you the best shot of winning in the key 5 or 6 states.
Who do you think he should choose as his vice president?
Well, you know, you asked me at dinner that question last night. You know, it's a very interesting question. You know, he could go any number of ways. You know, frankly, and this is out of the box. And I said this. Well,
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Negative. Absolutely not. But you know, I think you really want to flip the script. I think you should pick John Kasich. And
Wow.
I know that's a crazy thought. And I know a lot of Democrats would not like that, but I will tell you, if he did that, the election would be over in my view.
Well, I have good news for you.
He would
You
absolutely.
can ask John Kasich that
I'm going to
question.
ask him. You know, I think a cross-party ticket may be exactly what the Democrats and the country needs right now.
Wow. All right. Well, as I mentioned, John Kasich will be joining us in hour number 2, so we'll be able to ask him that question. Maybe Tom Arnold would run too. We'll ask him in hour number 2 as well. I don't know if he'd be interested in running as the vice president. All right, let's get to the impeachment hearings. Obviously, it's must-watch TV, right? But one thing I don't like from many Republicans say, well, this is boring TV. You know, this is not entertaining. This wasn't meant to entertain, okay? We're trying to find out the truth of what Donald Trump was doing. Did he withhold aid? That is the big question. And what did you make of Sondland's testimony yesterday? Because correct me if I'm wrong, Sondland said that it was a quid pro quo when it came to Rudy Giuliani, and it was his understanding that he got the what he was supposed to do, Rudy, from the president. Obviously, that makes sense. It's not like Rudy's out there, you know, just making decisions on his own. He's getting information from the president, right? And when Sondland spoke to the president said, "Speak to my attorney." Right? And the Republicans are trying to make the argument, well, it wasn't firsthand from the president, so it's not a quid pro quo from the president. What do you make of that argument that Republicans are making, that it wasn't direct from the president?
Well, a couple things. I mean, first of all, I thought the opening statement was very powerful by Sondland, and frankly, I think that if it would have ended there, it would have been best for the Democrats, but it did not end there. You know, it started off with a bang, and then as the questioning progressed, I think it got a little worse for the Democrats, and the testimony was not as powerful and as important as it appeared it was going to be in the very early stages. And I think what you saw by Attorney Goldman, the counsel for the Democrats, is he continued to ask one too many questions. And, you know, when you're in a trial, when you're in a cross-examination situation, you know, this can happen. You got to really know when to stop asking questions, because you can get 80% there and go for that home run ball to try to get 100% and get hurt. And I think that we saw that repeatedly with Goldman going back to the well with Sondland, trying to get him to testify that Trump had directly told him about a quid pro quo. Sondland was not going to go there. He indicated it. Goldman should have left well enough alone. He did not. And then Schiff followed it up and made the same mistake 2 or 3 times. I was sitting there watching that testimony, basically yelling at the television, you know, stop asking questions. A witness is not going to give you what you want. You got to know when to stop, because you can get hurt in a situation like that.
But isn't it true that some of these politicians, in fact, I would argue most of them, do not have the experience you have, or a veteran attorney like yourself, right? So they don't know when to stop.
Well, yeah, very, very few of them have actually cross-examined witnesses in a trial or in a high-stakes piece of litigation They just don't have that skill set. They have other skill sets, but they don't have that particular skill set. But look, I thought Sondland's testimony was powerful. It started off with a bang. I thought it ended somewhat with a whimper, but he was clear that his understanding was that there was a quid pro quo. And if you look at the circumstances around what happened and all the other people that were involved and all the other information that was present, I don't think there's any question at this point that there was a quid pro quo. If you look at the September 9th call that Sondland was talking about with the president, the president knew at that point that the whistleblower complaint had been filed.
Of course.
He knew there was going to be an investigation, and he knew the whole issue was going to be quid pro quo. And that's why, of course, look, Sondland could have asked him, what would you like from McDonald's? And he would have said, I don't want a quid pro quo.
Right,
he could have asked him any question, and Trump was ready.
He knew it was out.
Of course, he knew it was out, and he knew what he needed to say. But I want to go back to something you did raise, because I actually think I give it more validity than a lot of Democrats do. This argument or this point by the Republicans and those on Fox and others that, the hearings are boring and there's no pizzazz, et cetera. Do I think that's ridiculous at one level? Yes. Do I think it's absolutely true on another level? 100%. You got to remember, and this is one of the reasons why Trump was able to gain a foothold and win office, right? It's how we get our information. We want to constantly be entertained. We're constantly checking our phones. We're looking for the next GIF. We're looking for the next, short video. We want pizzazz. People want pizzazz. They want to see fireworks, and they want it now, and they want it in short bursts, right? It's all about the soundbite. It's all about that gotcha moment, that video clip. They want to be entertained. It's like when I used to try cases. The defense attorney might be, some boring guy or want to entertain the jury. I always tried to entertain the jury because people want to be
likable, and you want to be likable,
right? And they're there for a show, And look, people want a show, and so you can complain about it. You can talk about, it shouldn't have to be the show. We're talking about the impeachment of the president, the future of the republic. I agree with all that, but guess what? It is what it is, and so I think people do want a little pizzazz. Now, I don't know how you bring that to bear in this setting, right? I think you bring it to bear through, the various people that do the questioning and spice it up a little bit. But you're going to have some viral moments, but you're only going to have them, or you should have some viral moments. You're only going to have that entertainment factor if you've got the clips and you've got the characters.
Speaking of entertainment, I think if you wanted to watch a really good clown do some tricks, just watch Nunez this week, because he made himself look like a complete buffoon. If you want to talk about entertainment, what do you make of him, not calling Vindman by his rank, just being completely disrespectful to some of these people that he's asked these questions to? I just think this guy, like I said, I just think he's a complete clown. What do you make of his performance, and Jim Jordan as well?
Well, I mean, watching Nunez, it becomes readily apparent why he is suing a cow on Twitter. This is a guy that's brought this ridiculous lawsuit in Virginia against Devin Nunez's cow, which is a parody account on Twitter that's just been kicking his ass now for about 12 or 18 months. He talks about how he wants to take on the whistleblower and Hunter Biden. I mean, he can't even beat his own cow on Twitter. So I'm not impressed by Nunez. He looks like an absolute clown show with his opening statements. The guy can't ask a question to save his life, frankly. He's an embarrassment. And also, they chose this attorney Castor, the Republicans did. I mean, look, I'm sure he's a nice guy. He's terrible. I mean, he's a terrible cross-examiner. I don't know where they found this guy. Of all the attorneys that they could bring in to be a competent cross-examiner, this is not the guy. I mean, I think Goldman's running circles around him. I think any number of other attorneys would run circles around him. I just don't know who thought that Castor would be a good pick. I'm assuming that Nunez had a lot to do with that. I don't know. Maybe Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham picked Castor. Who knows?
That's possible, I guess. I don't know. If you're just joining us, you're speaking with attorney Michael Avenatti. The Mooch, Anthony Scaramucci, will be coming up here in just a few minutes. And we got a couple minutes before we go to break. This might be a loaded question for you, but who do you think did the best job with asking the questions, both on the Republican side and the Democratic side? Who were you impressed with?
Well, I continue to be impressed by Goldman. I think he's done a solid B job. There's been instances where he has shined. There's been instances where he didn't do a great job. I didn't think he was particularly good yesterday. I thought he was decent. I thought, again, he asked one too many questions. And then on the Republican side, look, I don't like the guy, Jim Jordan. I think he's a buffoon. But as it relates to powering up the base of the Republican Party and the people that are tuning in and want to immediately come to the conclusion that this is a witch hunt, et cetera, Jordan does a good job of fueling that. Now, does he do a good job of convincing other people that are on the fence? I don't think so.
But wasn't it you that said that, he does such a good job with questioning here? Why didn't he question the wrestling coach?
Well, yeah, I was watching him question. I was like, what? I mean, this guy seems to really be good or at times decent at asking questions. It's a shame he didn't
Except
ask
when
the
children
wrestling.
are being molested.
Right. Yeah, too bad he didn't ask, hey, what's going on with those young boys?
Yeah.
Perhaps a lot of people's lives would have been different if he would have asked those questions, but evidently it didn't occur to him at the time or something.
Very interesting.
Very, very interesting.
But for example, Jordan was literally yelling at Sondland yesterday. I mean, he was very, very aggressive in his face almost. You think that's actually galvanizing the Republican Party?
Well, I think it is to a certain degree because I think that people want, they want the combat. They want to know that, somebody's taking the fight to these witnesses and going after them. It's no different than when Trump stands up at a rally and spews some of the things that he does and gets super aggressive. That fuels the base. Now, whether it fuels anybody beyond the 30 or 35% is another story.
Mm-hmm. All right, you are listening to Attorney Michael Avenatti. This is the Vegas Take. By the way, we have live video right now streaming on YouTube on our YouTube page, The Vegas Take. Let me just give people a quick rundown of what we got coming up here. The next 2.5 hours is going to be fun radio. Coming up here in just a few minutes, he is known as the Mooch. He lasted 10 days.
11 days.
Is it 11? Okay.
Yeah, don't say 10 days.
I'll say 11.
Let's do a test. You say 10, and I guarantee you he'll correct you.
Fair enough.
All right,
okay,
let's
I will
have
say
a bet.
10.
We'll have a side bet.
All right, fair enough. Anthony Scaramucci will be joining us coming up next in the 10 a.m. hour, former presidential candidate. Some think he will run again. I actually think he will. John Kasich will be joining us at 10 a.m. And your friend, comedian, actor Tom Arnold will be joining us in the 10 a.m. hour as well. That is going to be a fun 30 minutes of radio. So stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back right after this. You are listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM 720 AM KDUN. Let me remind everybody again, we are streaming live on YouTube. Check it out right now, The Vegas Take YouTube page. You can see all of our pretty mugs up there right now. And also behind Michael Avenatti, the very hit-selling book, Not Triggered, Daddy, Please Love Me. We'll take a quick break and be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
It's called a smartphone for a good reason. With DriveWise on the Allstate app, your smartphone can help you get smarter about driving safer. DriveWise gives you real-time driving feedback, giving you the power to lower your insurance cost. In fact, safe drivers can save 40% or more. Connect and save with DriveWise. You're in good hands.
Download the Allstate app today. Savings may vary by state and driving behavior, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Use of Allstate Mobile with activation of DriveWise required. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Ordinary bar soaps may do a good job of cleansing. Easy. Done and done. But with Dove, you get a whole lot more. Because every bar is made with 1/4 moisturizing cream. So you get a gentle clean that leaves skin feeling soft, smooth, and nourished. Upgrade to Dove, the bar that gives you more. It cleanses and cares. Plus, it's #1 recommended by dermatologists. Now that is money well spent. Dove. Get more from your beauty bar.
Hey, it's Lee Goldberg of the GCI Guys at Realty One Group. Do you know anyone that's looking to buy a home, sell a home, rent, move from California? If so, give them my number, 702-902-3029. All listeners of the Vegas Take get $1,000 in your hand back at closing. Hometown heroes, veteran, military, police, teacher, nurse, I'm giving you $2,000 back. That also goes for hospitality and casino employees. Free use of a moving truck for a day, 6 free months of home security. Call me, 702-902-3029, the GCI Guys.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
This is Lorraine Hunt Bono, inviting you to tune in for Breaking Bread with Bono. Join my husband, Dennis Bono, as celebrities share with him their intimate and humorous stories. Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m., right here on KDARN.
Okay, men, time to be an all-star caregiver. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, be there emotionally and physically. Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. But when we introduce a new stimulus, save the food, we're helping to stop food waste. Save the food. For tips and recipes, visit SaveTheFood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Matt Franco, inviting you to bring home the magic that comes with saving a life. Every day at the Animal Foundation, you'll find hundreds of loyal, loving shelter pets looking for their permanent homes. Visit the Animal Foundation's new adoption center today or find your pet online at animalfoundation.com.
Las Vegas's only FM news talk station is right here. The new 1015 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Special report, House impeachment inquiry. David Holmes, an embassy staffer at the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv, has testified that he was at a restaurant when he overheard Ambassador Gordon Sondland talking on the phone with the president.
The president's voice was loud and recognizable, and Ambassador Sondland held the phone away from his ear for a period of time, presumably because of the loud volume.
And Holmes says he remembers the moment clearly.
I then heard President Trump ask, so he's going to do the investigation. Ambassador Sondland replied that he's going to do it, adding that President Zelensky will do anything you ask him to do. Even though I did not take notes of these statements, I have a clear recollection that these statements were made. I believe that my colleagues who were sitting at the table also knew that Ambassador Sondland was speaking with the president.
Fiona Hill, the former NSC Russia expert, says her former boss, John Bolton, referred to Rudy Giuliani's efforts to get Ukraine to investigate the Bidens as a, quote, drug deal and advised her to talk to lawyers about it. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Sam and Ash. An accident reported on the 95 northbound at Rancho Drive. Watch for slowing. Also, the crash 95 northbound near Jones. That is off to the right. A crash on I-15 southbound at Spring Mountain Road. That is off right as well. Slowing overall is from the Spaghetti Bowl to Spring Mountain on the 15 south. 15 north slows from the Southern Beltway up to Flamingo. And after an accident, the insurance company won't have your back. That's why you need personal injury attorneys Sam and Ash, because you deserve what's right. Visit them now at samandash.com. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, taking Nevadans to Capitol Hill for the latest on the federal issues that matter most to you.
Eye on Washington, Saturday morning at 9:30 on 1015 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Sarcoma. Odds are you've never heard that word before. For the 40 people diagnosed with sarcoma every day, it is a life-changing word because sarcoma is cancer. Through awareness, advocacy, and research, the Sarcoma Foundation of America is bringing hope to the families whose lives have been turned upside down by a cancer they had never heard of until diagnosis. Please join us in the fight to find the cure for sarcoma. For more information on the work of the Sarcoma Foundation of America, go to curesarcoma.org.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 1015 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
And keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We're trying to get in touch with Anthony Scaramucci. We'll get him in a few minutes here. But, so I show up at the studio, and as you know, we had these pranksters on. They're professional pranksters. And what they did is they went into the Trump Tower in New York, and they replaced the triggered Don Jr. book with a separate cover that says, "Daddy, Please Love Me." So I offered this book to Michael Avenatti, who joins us in studio now. And Michael took a picture of it. I gave it to him. And it's a very funny tweet. It says, looking forward to reading about your walks through Arlington Cemetery as you recall your extreme sacrifices and those of your other rich, privileged family members. And it's showing the book, "Daddy, Please Love Me." Michael, will you actually read his book? In all seriousness, would you read it?
If I got paid to read it or something, I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's a fair question. I don't know. Just for entertainment value. Because we
I
all know
I could think of like 173 other things that would be ahead of that on the entertainment value scale, frankly.
All right, fair enough. That's fair. So you guys have been going at it left and right with Biff, with Don Jr. He took a picture with your ex-wife, put it up on Twitter. You responded. My question is, why won't he ever respond to you? Yet he just puts out a tweet and attacks you, but yet won't respond to any of your tweets.
Well, he's a keyboard warrior. I mean, this is a guy that cannot handle any confrontation one-on-one. He has refused to appear opposite me on any television show, any radio show. He won't debate me. He wants no confrontation because he knows that is not going to end up well for him, that he's going to get absolutely destroyed because I'm going to go after him for the fraud that he is. This is a guy that has never accomplished anything in his life. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and a gold toilet under his ass.
I certainly don't disagree with you, but the guy we have with us on the line right now certainly has accomplished just a little bit more than I would say than Biff, also known as Don Jr. This is a guy that lasted 10 days, though, right? 10 days, press secretary under Donald Trump. He's known Donald Trump for years, and we're very happy to have him on the line with us. Your friend, Michael. Anthony Scaramucci, the Mooch. Thank you so much for joining us, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing good, but let's do a fact check. It was actually 11 days. Okay, so let's go over this, guys. Okay, if you fired on the 31st and you're hired on the 21st, but you worked every day, you got to count the days. It's actually 11 days.
So, Mooch, we had a bet, me and Michael Avenatti in studio, that you would say that. He said you would say that. I said I didn't think you would, so I lost the bet, Anthony. You just cost me dinner.
No, 100%. Of course, I got to say it. It's a constant fact-checking debacle for me.
Fair enough.
Give me at a 9.1% of the career.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, Mooch.
By the way, when you're working for Trump, it's like dog years. So I almost lasted like a full Trump administration cabinet official.
No, that extra day was like 7 years, Mooch. That extra day was like 7 years, Mooch.
Okay. That last day was particularly brutal. That was the day I got fired, but it's all good. I mean, look, thank God I got fired in hindsight. I mean, what a debacle.
Well, speaking of getting fired, you were the one responsible for Reince Priebus getting fired. Is that fair to say?
Well, I would certainly like to think I contributed to that. I mean, I think that probably one of the worst people I've ever come in contact with in the 55 years that I've been on the planet.
Wow.
And he was a very, very destructive guy. It's very different from Donald Trump, actually. I mean, at least President Trump is like fully frontally in your face, letting you know that he's a complete fraud. He's at the microphones in front of the helicopter saying, China, please investigate the Bidens. I mean, that's
right.
There's a weird part of that I almost admire. In Priebus's case, it was all howdy doody, ha ha ha, and then he was backstabbing you. I want to ask Michael this question. I want you to imagine Trump and Bannon in the White House together during the fiasco that's going on right now, Michael. Could you imagine that?
Oh, I can't imagine that. I mean, those two together, I don't even know what that might look like, Mooch. But, let me say this to Brian and JD and the
I
list.
think that's my contribution. I think that's my contribution to American history. That I was able to, when my suicide vest was going off, and it blew up, it damaged Bannon so heavily that he left the White House 2 weeks later. So to me, I've made a small contribution thus far, but that's the main one.
There you go. But, I do want to say this to the listeners and to JD and Brian. Look, Trump has made a lot of mistakes over the years, over the course of his presidency, over the 3 years. A lot of mistakes, a lot of bad personnel decisions. But I'm going to tell you one of the biggest mistakes that he's made, and probably the worst personnel decision, was getting rid of Anthony Scaramucci. Because you can say what you want about the Mooch. I'm a fan of the Mooch. I'm a friend of the Mooch. I love the Mooch. But here's the truth. The guy is very effective. Mooch, you are incredibly effective at communication. People like you. The press likes Anthony behind the scenes. They really like him because, he's a character. And he's a very intelligent, well-spoken guy. And let me tell you something. Thankfully for the rest of the country, Trump got rid of him because had Trump kept him around, Trump would be in a much stronger, safer place right now.
I do not disagree with that. I've said that on this show before. Okay, Mooch, here's a question I've always wanted to ask you.
Well, he's very flattering, you guys. He would have never kept a guy like me around, though. I mean, you just look at the 81 people that went into the wood chipper after me. There's no way he would have kept me around, because he doesn't, at the end of the day, there's a level of insecurity there and low self-esteem. He doesn't like having people around him that are accomplished and can, look at him straight in the eye and tell him, hey, don't do that. Just remember that the news cycle is moving so fast, but remember the letter that he sent to Erdogan. It was like somebody wrote it with a red Crayola crayon and then handed it to Steno, There's no way John Kelly or somebody like me would have allowed that letter to leave the White House premises.
Mooch, can you take me back to that last conversation? I don't know if it was a volatile conversation that you had with Donald Trump before you left the White House. Can you take me back to that last conversation? Take us through that.
No, my last conversation was quite positive. It was on Saturday morning. He told me that I was a lucky guy that the news cycle had already moved on to the firing and sacking of Reince Priebus, and that even though I did take the reporter, he was okay with it, and that he would see me in the office at 8 a.m. on Monday. And so I was somewhat relieved.
Wow.
The thing with President Trump is he doesn't fire you. He doesn't like confrontation, and so he had John Kelly fire me. And so then the question is, what changed between Saturday morning when I had that conversation with him, Monday morning when I was fired? And frankly, I think it was a combination of things. But I've gotten close to John Kelly now, and I think it was, a combination. It was like President Trump and Chief of Staff Kelly saying, "Hey, let's clean house, and we'll send Anthony out of here as a message to people that we're cleaning house." And so,
Gotcha.
It was rough.
Yeah,
it was rough. And by the way, my relationship with John Kelly started out sorely because of it, but we've now grown into personal friends. And as Michael knows, I invited him to my conference out in Vegas last May. He spoke at the Bellagio, where I interviewed him for an hour. I opened up the interview by saying, "Hey, General, the last conversation we had lasted 3 minutes. It didn't go well for me. Are we going to be okay up here, or what?"
I'm glad you were able to work that out. Here's another question.
Well, 3 minutes. That's as long as the relationship that Trump had with Stormy.
Yeah, that's
3 minutes.
the Trump Stormy. Yeah,
that's the rumor.
Trump Stormy situation. So, Mooch, obviously, I agree with everything Avenatti said. You're a smart guy. You're an accomplished guy. Why did it take you this long? You've known Donald Trump for decades. You've known him for a long time. You had to have known privately that this guy was a fraud. Why did you never speak up about it publicly until recently?
Well, I wrote about it in the Washington Post. I would take you guys back to the August 19th editorial where, I equivocated. I did something that I should not have done. I've apologized to people for it, but it was a little bit of a cognitive dissonance, moral equivocation. And so what ends up happening is you're a Republican. No offense to Secretary Clinton. I'd never had anything personal against her. I was just trying to promote at that time Republican policies. And so it was a choice. It's a hiring decision. You only have two people to choose from. And so I did it a moral equivocation. My liberal friends said, well, he hasn't really changed. 2015 Donald Trump is more or less the same as 2019. I think he's in mental decline. That's roughly right. But I did the moral equivocation. I did these policies are going to be great. He'll rise to the level of the presidency. And then what you do is you stop your brain from thinking about the things that he's doing that are inappropriate. And by the way, you just look at the congressional members of the Republican caucus. That's exactly what they're doing. They're still doing it. I couldn't do it, as Michael knows, and we had many conversations about this. I broke from him on child separation. I broke from him on the denunciation of the intelligence officers and agencies in front of Vladimir Putin. I wrote an op-ed last year, or April of 2019, this past year, on the press not being the enemy of the people. And then when he went after the congresswomen, I said, okay, that's full-blown racism. Sorry, can't handle that. And then once he started attacking me and then started attacking my wife, I said, okay, he's obviously got a screw loose. He's in a full-blown meltdown. And then in August, I said, look, I can't support this anymore. This is Trump Noble. This is like watching the first two episodes of the HBO series Chernobyl.
So for you, Mooch, it was personal.
Melting at the core.
When he got personal with you, you're saying that was the final straw.
Well, I would say the final straw was probably the attack on the congresswomen, but that would have caused me. Remember, I worked for him. I worked for him on the campaign. I was on the executive committee of the transition. When I was fired, I literally spent 2 years trying to defend him. So I would have probably just gone dark. I would have probably said, okay, can't really advocate on his behalf anymore. Let me go dark. But when he attacked me, that's one thing. But when he viciously attacked my wife, who is a suburban housewife living out on Long Island, raising 2 kids.
And a great lady, by the way. A great lady.
Yeah, but Michael knows this. You may know this. I was in the throes of a potential divorce. She had filed on me. We love each other. We were trying to patch it up. It's 2 years since then. We're doing well. President Trump knew that we were in trouble in our marriage while I was working for him. But just think of the boundaryless nature of this person. He's attacking her on the presidential Twitter feed. And so I tell people he may not have early stage dementia. I'm not a neurologist, but that's early stage fascism, full-blown fascism. You're going after an individual and a private citizen. The reason why what he did with Joe Biden is so impeachable and so egregious is that the founders set it up in a way where if you have political power, you're not supposed to be able to use that political power against a human being that happens to be a fellow citizen of the country. And so when you think about it, the founders set that thing up known as Washington as a place of service, not a place of rule. And so those people are supposed to be serving the American people. And President Trump has a different view of that. So to me, I'm not, I'm a pretty straight up guy. I was going to probably just say, okay, he's not for me. I'm going to disavow my support and go dark. But then once he attacked my family members, game on. I mean, I'm not going to tolerate that, nor should anybody. And guys, come on, do I look like Ted Cruz to you?
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Come on, give me a break. So I'm not a politician. I'm not going to equivocate to that man. And also, now that we have the American system under threat, where there's actually a party now that's decided that they know the guy's unequivocally guilty, but they don't care. And so they're going to lie about it in an effort to keep themselves and him in office. I mean, it's an absolutely disgusting thing. It's a direct threat to our democracy. It's a direct threat to the republic. And if we don't have brave men and women like the ones you're seeing testifying today go after him, what do we have? It's a fragile thing, guys.
So let me jump in, Mooch. Let me say one thing, and then I'm going to ask a question. First of all, to my Democratic friends that want to make Anthony wrong and want to talk about how long he supported the president, what took you so long, et cetera, you're making a grave mistake. If the Democrats want to actually regain footing, if they want to take control of the White House, if they want to get back to a place where this country can no longer be so divided and we can be unified and move forward, if they want to save the republic, you've got to welcome people like Anthony Scaramucci back into the fold with open arms. You can't make them wrong for their past support of Donald Trump. It's no different. I've used this analogy in the past. It's no different than, one day you're in love with a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a wife or a husband, and then someday, whether it's a year or 2 or 3 or 10 or 15 years later, sometimes you wake up and you don't want to be with the person anymore. You've run your course. You can't believe that you made the decision to be with them to begin with. So we can't make people like Anthony wrong. We got to welcome them back with open arms, especially when they're willing to put themselves out there like Anthony is right now and really be vocal about how important it is that Trump be removed from office. So that's number one. And then second, I want to pose a question to you, Mooch. I mean, how do you think this ends? And if you think it ends with Trump resigning or impeached, when do you think that happens?
So I said in August that he will not make it to the nomination and he will not run again. And I think that's still the most likely outcome. So sometime between now and March, which is the LBJ time period, March 1968, LBJ said not running for re-election. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that's the reason why Nikki Haley's out there on a full-blown obsequious tour, because she sees herself as a vice president. So that would either be vice president for him if he somehow miraculously survives this, or vice president for Mike Pence if he doesn't. So, listen, I'm a money manager. I get a lot of things wrong. I get paid, frankly, to do well when I am wrong. And so I might be wrong about this, but here are the scenarios. Pretty sure he leaves office on January 20th, 2021. A disgraced man, and he'll say otherwise. He'll say that he made America great, and then it'll be a toss-up as to who wins the election, depending upon who the Democrats put up. Or he somehow miraculously survives this. He'll probably jettison Mike Pence, a ruthless guy, even though Mike's been super loyal to him. He won't care. Puts Haley on the ticket, and listen, you guys may feel differently, but if they put up somebody like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, I think it's a 40-state landslide for Trump. And so I've said that consistently.
Totally agree.
Country's not ready for socialism. And then you've got a 5-year debacle where he's literally using the White House and using the government as a piggy bank. And, look, at what we know from the president, this is a personal transaction business for him. God only knows how much money he's made from our adversaries doing their bidding around the world. And so hopefully all that stuff comes out. One of the funner things or more disgusting things to think about, he's going to get impeached, may end up staying in office. If he wins again, he'll be impeached in the second term as well because he's so lawless. So he could be the first president in history to impeach twice.
Hey, Mooch, let me ask you a question.
The more likely scenario, though, is he leaves. Also, I think he's not well.
No, I don't think
that
he's well
hospital visit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I don't think he's well either.
No, I think that hospital visit and just him coming down those lower stairs at Air Force One in Texas yesterday with his doctor with him, I think is a sign that he's not doing too well. It's either neurological or could be cardiac related. But if you look at his right leg is sweeping now. Again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to start making up things, but it looks like he's had a stroke. It's possible mini stroke, having a hard time finding his words, things like that. So there'll be a reason that he doesn't run again, is my opinion.
So, Mooch, let me ask you this: who do you think the Democrats should nominate in order to win back the White House, and why?
Well, they have a weak field. I think one of the reasons why, Michael, the Democrats don't like me is I'm not one. I've been a Republican my whole life. But I would say this, that the more moderate of the group is probably Buttigieg. If you could take Buttigieg's brain and put it in Joe Biden's body, you'd have a killer candidate. Unfortunately, if you watch Vice President Biden's performance last night, it would be hard to see him even if they nominate him because he fits the slot of calmness and stewardship and things like that, and he's moderate, it'd be hard to see him going the distance. So it would have to be somebody like Mayor Pete, or it would have to be somebody in that category that's a little bit younger than Vice President Biden. I still think that Andrew Yang, I don't know if you're allowed to say this on the air, so forgive me, but I think there's prejudice against him because he's Asian, frankly. And so if you listen to Andrew Yang and you listen to his presentation and what he's saying, what he's doing, he should be at the top of the polls. He's moderate. He gets the new economy. He inspires young people. He's somebody that if you put him up against Trump, I think he could manhandle Trump.
Yeah, but Mooch,
me looking at it, I think those are the guys I think would have the best, in terms of just their way they swing verbally.
Yeah, well, Mooch, look, Andrew Yang, I agree with a number of the things that you said, but he's got no shot of beating Donald Trump, especially in the key states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, et cetera. I think Mayor Pete.
I agree with that. I'm just pointing out that he's got the verbal dexterity that somebody like Joe Biden doesn't have.
Well, that may be true, but let me ask you.
Put it back to you. Do you think Biden can beat Trump?
I think of the candidates right now, I think Biden has the best shot of beating Donald Trump. Now, do I wish that Biden was 20 years younger? Absolutely. Do I wish that he did not commit as many gaffes that he does? Absolutely. He's not a perfect candidate, but the Democrats have to be careful and not allow perfection to become the enemy of the good. And I think that, I spent a lot of time when I was thinking about running, against your advice, I might add, last year, in Michigan and Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, a lot of these swing states, because my attitude was if I can't figure out a way to win here, I'm not going to potentially run because that's the ball game. And when you talk to those voters, they identify with Joe Biden. They see Joe Biden differently than they see in Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or some of these other candidates. Yep. Let me ask you this question, Mitch. Do you think that Mayor Pete can win in those key states, as a gay man? Let's have a really candid discussion about it. Do you think he can carry those states and win statewide in places like Ohio, Wisconsin?
I may be naive to this. I don't think he can carry the evangelical vote, but they wouldn't be voting for him anyway.
Right.
I think that's less of an issue for him than sexual preference. I think the issue for him is his age. I think the issue is his experience. But let me tell you something. I met him at the Texas Tribune Festival. You guys all know
he's very impressive. He's very impressive, very intelligent. He's the most intelligent guy in the field. Absolutely.
Scholar.
No, absolutely. Look, I've spent the time. I broke bread with him as well. I love the guy. I just don't know if
20 years. I don't think this is his time, and I also think he's having a good run right now. But I think that those states that we're talking about, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, they rotate back to a more traditional Democrat. So it's sort of Warren, and I hope it's Biden, because if it's Senator Warren, the country's not ready for that sort of nonsense. Also, that nonsense doesn't work. And, again, we can all rail on President Trump, but one of the things that we learned is if you could have Barack Obama's temperament and a deregulatory strategy for the government, you can unleash a lot of growth. And by the way, I think, if you were rotisserie baseball-like in your politician, you would pick Barack Obama's temperament, some of his swag and style. You would pick Trump's deregulation initiative, but you would pick Obama's deficit cutting ideas. He had the deficit going in the right direction and under control post-crisis. And what we've done in the Trump administration is that we've added $2.25 trillion of debt with no meaningful growth. Guys, we got 2 quarters of growth. Paul Krugman, not a guy I agree with a lot, but got this right. He said this would be a sugar rush for 1 or 2 quarters, and then we would revert back to 1.9 to 2.1% growth without anything more than more deficits to pay back.
Mm-hmm.
So look, we're in a mess, and we're in a crossfire of people that are not really thinking about this in a way that they need to, which is long-term for the American people. And again, what I love about your show and what I love about the way you guys think, we have to position the country again towards service, long-term thinking, and less about what is right or left about policy, but more about what's right or wrong about policy. And so I'm still waiting for that transformational candidate, that post-partisan candidate. But listen, you got to defeat Trump, because if you don't take him out, he, in 5 more years, could do almost irreparable damage to the system. As hard as that is to believe, it's like we hired a demagogue. We hired Huey Long, Charles Lindbergh.
Yep.
It's as if Roy Cohn had a baby with Joe McCarthy. The baby was Donald Trump, and now he's running.
I like that. Mooch, unfortunately, we got to go, but I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And I got to tell you something, man. When you come to Las Vegas, we would absolutely love you to be in studio with Michael if we can make that happen down the road.
That would be great. Yeah, I'm going to be in town in March, and obviously again,
let's do it.
For our conference in May. Maybe you guys can broadcast from our conference.
That'd
be awesome.
Love to do that, Mooch.
Great to be on with you guys.
Can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. There you go.
Thanks a lot, Anthony. My friend.
That is the Mooch himself, Anthony Scaramucci. When we come back, another big guest, John Kasich, will be joining us next on the Vegas Take. Be back right after this.
Hey, have you heard that ransomware attacks have increased by 500% this year?
Yeah, cybercriminals are targeting all types of businesses, encrypting their data and holding it hostage unless they pay up.
What if we're their next victim?
Don't worry, we have Barracuda to detect, prevent, and recover from ransomware and other advanced threats.
So we're secured?
Absolutely. We'll pay no ransom and keep this business up and running.
That's a relief.
Protect your business at Barracuda.com. Barracuda, your journey secured.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. The world is changing. Isn't it time smoking changed too? Vuse Alto is a vapor product offering you a satisfying alternative to cigarettes. Simple to use, surprisingly quiet, and impressively powerful. Our best vapor yet at our best price ever. 99 cents plus tax at participating retailers. 99-cent offer applies to Alto device. Pod sold separately. Underage sale prohibited.
This is Harry Jacobs from Credit Restoration of Nevada, inviting you to join me for the Credit Show, Saturday mornings between 9 and 10, here on the new 101.5 FM and 720 AM, Cato.
Does your child love math? Do they just love math so much that once they finish their homework, they want to work on extra math problems just for fun? Anyone? If you answered no, then you are not alone. While your child may not think math is important for their future, we know better. That's because Infinity the Math Institute offers the best math tutors in Las Vegas, produces the best results at the best prices for kids of all ages. Infinity the Math Institute does it all. Does your child need prep for the SATs? Right now, SAT preparation classes in November are just $15. Fractions, algebra, geometry, decimals, you name it. Plus, Infinity offers homeschool programs, free seminars for parents and students. And whether your child is transitioning from elementary school to middle school to high school, or preparing for college, Infinity can help. Classes are filling up. Call us now to find out more. 702-768-1777. That's 768-1777. You want the best results for your child? One call to Infinity can have a huge impact on your child's future. Call now. 768-1777. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you.
Your home for Sean Hannity. KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
A conversation between President Trump and Ambassador Gordon Sondland, in which he says he heard the president ask Sondland if Ukraine had agreed to investigations he wanted. After he asked Sondland if the president cared about Ukraine.
He said he cares about big stuff.
Did he explain what he meant by big stuff?
Well, I asked him, well, what kind of big stuff? We have big stuff going on here, like a war with Russia. And he said, no, big stuff like the Biden investigation that Mr. Giuliani is pushing.
Former White House Russia expert Fiona Hill has testified that Russia continues to try to manipulate the U.S.
Right now, Russia's security services and their proxies have geared up to repeat their interference in the 2020 election. We are running out of time to stop them.
She says her former boss, John Bolton, called Giuliani's actions a drug deal. I'm Mike Moss. Hill says it is a fictional narrative that Ukraine tried to meddle in the 2016 vote. Holmes was questioned about EU Ambassador Sondland, who testified yesterday.
Did you also understand that Ambassador Sondland had been given some authority over Ukraine policy from the president?
We understood that he had been told to work with Mr. Giuliani.
And did he hold himself out as having direct contact and knowledge of the president's priorities and interests?
Yes, sir.
Holmes says that Russia is trying to drive a wedge between the United States and Ukraine for its own benefit. The Israeli Attorney General has formally charged Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with corruption, charges that include fraud, bribery, and breach of trust. 2 have died in an incident involving 2 T-38 jets at Vance Air Force Base in Enid, Oklahoma. The Dow is down 16 points at this hour. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Dispatch Health. Watch for slowing for a crash on I-15 southbound Spring Mountain at off to the right and an accident on the surface street, Desert Inn at Valley View. Injury sustained, police and fire were the scene. And also an injury crash reported on South Grand Canyon approaching Flamingo Road. And again, police and fire staged at the scene. There may be lane restrictions. When you're sick, every minute counts. Go to dispatchhealth.com, where high-quality medical care comes to you. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about medical professionals who make house calls. Dispatch Health, covered by most insurance. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
For more than a year, the whole of Vermont was captivated by the hunt for a runaway golden retriever. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press. Available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
Hi, it's Sam.
Hey, it's Ash, and we're Sam and Ash, your personal injury attorneys.
If you've been injured in an accident, don't rely on your insurance agent to help you.
Your agent and claims adjuster are not going to get you the treatment or compensation that you deserve for your injuries.
That's what we do. We craft an effective plan of action to get you the help you need.
Also, you deserve to be heard, and most of all, you deserve what's right.
So, give us a call 24/7 at 1-800-304-2000 or visit samandash.com. Sam and Ash.
What's right?
Las Vegas's only FM news talk station is right here. The new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, rolling out hour number 2. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us. Michael sticking around in studio as well. And, it's always great when we have, whether it's a former presidential candidate, a former governor. We love talking to politicians, in the past and the future. And John Kasich is one of those that I have a tremendous amount of respect for many reasons that we are going to talk about. He's got a new book out. It's called It's Up to Us, 10 Little Ways We Can Bring About Big Change. The former governor joining us right now on the line. John Kasich. John, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
You're very welcome, Brian. Very welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
so
thanks a lot, John.
Let me start by saying this and talking to you about this. You're one of the few Republicans out there that has spoken out in regards to Donald Trump wrongdoings. You have a backbone, John. Why is it that you think that there are so many Republicans out there that refuse to even admit what Donald Trump said to the president of the Ukraine was at the very least, maybe not even impeachable, but wrong? Why do you think that is?
Well, I held up a chart last night, a little triangle that explains exactly what happens, not just to Republicans, but Democrats as well, whenever the heat is on. And that is that party at times can be the most important factor in how a representative, how they react to things. And then you also have the public. And if the public is consistent with the party, then, the party dominates. But if the public begins to say, no, we don't like this, and they come in conflict with the party, then the public begins to be ascendant. And of course, at the end of the day, there's also what's called conscience. And you have to decide, whether, what your most important reason is for having held public office. I am not somebody that tries to get in somebody's head. I may have private feelings about it, but I don't really try to express them and judge other people. I think you got to ask them. And the question is, why are they saying what they're saying? Is it because their conscience tells them that? Is it because the political party pressures them? Is it because the public says you've got to be a good Republican? I mean, those are the things you have to think about. And that's kind of a political science textbook approach. But, I think it's the reality that affects all politicians.
John, you were up there on that stage. You ran for president. You were up there a few feet away from Donald Trump. If anybody knows what it would take to defeat the president in 2020, you would know. What would be your advice to Democrats? How do you defeat Donald Trump?
Well, it's basically kitchen table issues. It's the talk about your better plan for health care, your better plan for the issue of wages and education. I mean, it's kitchen table issues. And if, in fact, the Democrats run somebody who skewers hard left, and you're beginning to see them move away from that, I think Trump's likely to win re-election. I can't predict that, but it makes it easier for him to win. If it's somebody who's more moderate, because the country is essentially center-right and center-left. Mm-hmm. And if you get way out, whether on the right or on the left, it just doesn't work. And so, but it's not about Donald Trump. It's about your view of how you can help families, because everybody isn't sitting around at night worrying about what the heck's going on with Donald Trump.
Sure. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with John Kasich, former governor of Ohio, former presidential candidate. His new book is out. It's Up to Us, 10 Little Ways We Can Bring About Big Change. Let's talk about the media for a second, John. I really enjoyed your show on Fox News that ran 2001 to 2007. So you're the perfect person to ask this question. When you look at CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News and the differences, even when you talk about the headlines yesterday, you had CNN that put up the headline, quid pro quo. Sondland says there's a quid pro quo. And then if you turn on Fox News, it's the opposite of that. The headlines are completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Don't you think that is dangerous for America?
No, I think what's dangerous for America is when people just don't shop around, when they get themselves stuck in a silo and only absorb that they agree with. Anybody that's running a media operation, just like you guys having a radio show, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
It's just that I think it's important. It's one of the lessons of my book, because my book is really a handbook of how to get your personal power back and stop worrying about all this political stuff, is get out of your own silo. Be willing to listen to people that don't agree with you, or to absorb information that is different than what your preconceived ideas may be. So, my approach is try to sample everything. Sort of like when you get your candy for Christmas, there's an assortment of things. So, do some assorting.
Mm-hmm. So, Governor Michael here, let me ask you this question. What do you think the deadline is for the Republicans as it relates to deciding whether they're really going to ride the Trump horse all the way to the 2020 general election? When do you think the Republicans have to decide that?
Well, I think they pretty well decided it so far. I mean, anything is possible in the future, but that's kind of the way I see it. Right now, he's very strong, and I don't see any grounds on which he will not be strong. That could happen, but right now, I don't see it.
Well, let me say this. Let me tell you who I think the Republican nominee should be. I think the Republican nominee should be you, and here's why. You've been a consistent critic of the president for many years. You've been a fighter. You are a fighter. You're pretty good on television. You're not quite as good as I am, but you're pretty good. You've won statewide in Ohio. You can speak to those issues that you raised earlier. I think you would be one hell of a formidable candidate for any of the Democrats were you to run. So here's my question. You wrote this book. It looks like a book written by a guy who's seriously contemplating running for president. So,
wait. Did you read the book?
Yeah, I have looked at the book.
Yeah, well, the book has nothing to do with politics.
Well, no, but it has to do with those important issues that you raised. So here's my question: Are you?
No, it does. It has nothing to do with that either. It doesn't. The book is telling people that instead of focusing all their attention on politics in some faraway places, figure out what you can do locally. How do you slow down and hear your purpose? How do you live a life a little bigger than yourself? Mm-hmm. How do you get out of your own silo? How do you consider your eternal destiny? This is really a handbook for getting your personal power back, and it has not. I mean, it doesn't even talk about politics, and I mean, maybe a little bit, but it's 90% about things we learn about life. Mm-hmm. And I wrote the book because I'm not particularly interested in writing anything more about politics. I've written one book about it. It was all right, but I very much like this book because it's different. It's a different book.
Mm-hmm. So, Governor, let me ask you this.
Those kind words, except the trashing you gave me on my television where you claim you were much better. We're going to let the public do a judge off. How's that?
So, Governor, look, I'm a fan of yours. I've always been a fan of yours. We disagree on a number of policy positions, but look, I think you're very effective, and I think you'd be a hell of a presidential candidate in 2020 and likely beyond. But here's my question, point blank. Are you considering running in 2020?
No, not now. I've already announced this about 2 weeks ago. I'm not thinking about it because there's no path. Mm-hmm. As I like to say, when you go hiking, you look for a path to go to get up higher in terms of the mountain you're climbing. But if you don't see a path, then you don't try to climb. I've done this before.
Sure.
I don't want to fall down.
Well, I hope a path opens up.
I don't know if there'll be a path, but I'm pretty happy with what I'm doing and who I am and all those kinds of things.
Well, sure. I hope a path opens up because I think the country needs you, Governor.
Well, I think
nice of you.
And by the way, I agree with that. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with John Kasich, the former governor of Ohio, former presidential candidate. His new book, It's Up to Us, 10 Little Ways We Can Bring About Big Change. Okay, John, let me ask you this question point blank. Based on the information we all have and the evidence that is put forth in these impeachment inquiry hearings, and we're going to get more information, but based on the information we know right now, does this raise to the level of an impeachable offense? What is your opinion with that?
Yeah, I've already said that if I were in the House, I would vote for that because I reached that conclusion after I saw the Chief of Staff say, yeah, we do quid pro quos all the time. And my concern here, of course, is real simple, and that is I don't think that a president can withhold vital military aid for a country like this based on a personal request that involves his political opponents. So we'll have to see what the House does and how they come forward, but that's the view that I expressed here several weeks ago.
So Governor, obviously you're from Ohio. You've won statewide at least twice in Ohio. Right. You served 8 years as governor of Ohio. Ohio is a key state in the presidential election. Winning those key Midwestern states is vitally important. So here's my question. Of the Democrats that are running right now, who do you think gives the Democrats the best shot of beating Donald Trump?
I think it's the candidates that are more towards the center left than somebody who's very extreme. I mean, I think You see Elizabeth Warren beginning to fall now. You got Bernie Sanders still got up ahead of steam, but that's not very practical. So, there are a number of them that are more center left. I mean, you got Biden, you got Klobuchar. I guess the mayor, I don't know enough about him, but anybody who can come across as more reasonable and a problem solver. So, you got to just look at the whole field and see how it develops.
If you're sitting in a room alone with Donald Trump right now and you had an opportunity to speak with him, what would you talk to him about?
Nothing I would tell you on the radio.
That's fair.
I
That's
can
fair.
appreciate your honesty. Do you believe that Donald Trump's presidency has brought out a lot of closet extremists?
I don't want to get into that. I mean, I just don't, guys. That's, I don't like the rhetoric. It's why I didn't endorse him. It's why I haven't supported him. But I also don't engage in personal attacks. I don't believe in that for anybody. I mean, I can think what I want to think, but it's important what I have. I mean, for me, it's important what I have to say to my friends and family, and I just don't want to live in that place right now.
Sure, and that's totally understandable. Of all the Democrats that I speak with on a regular basis, those of them that say, well, who are the people that you respect the most that were on that stage that were running against Donald Trump? The name I hear is you. Why do you think that is, that there are so many people that have reached across the aisle that have so much respect for a man like you?
Well, look, I think first of all, it's because I don't name call. Secondly, I'm not trying to be self-righteous, but I have to follow my conscience. And I can't let that bleed into self-righteousness. We all have that capability, particularly me. I'm willing to work with people on the other side, and I think we need a 21st century agenda on a whole bunch of different issues and think about change. And I'm just not out there. Well, what part of it is? I'm sort of in a post-party mood. I happen to be a Republican, but that doesn't dominate my thinking. I'm an American before I'm a Republican, or so maybe that's it. I don't know.
If I could just interject
I can't answer that.
What you just said is so important to me. You're an American before you're a Republican, John. I've said this, and I'll say it again, and you tell me if you agree or not, Governor. I believe the two worst words in this country are Republican and Democrat, because I believe too many of them do what's best for their party and not what's best for the country. Would you agree with that?
Well, that's the triangle. Remember, again, let me see if I can explain this to you a little bit more clearly.
Sure.
So if I'm elected, right, I'm a member of the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, and the party's always trying to get me to follow their line. And then there's the public out there that may have a different view than the party, or maybe sometimes it has the same view as the party. What's happened in America is that the districts have become more and more one party or the other oriented. That's why we need to end gerrymandering, so that one party doesn't dominate a district and people have to listen to people on the other side. When that happens, then the public becomes more important and the party becomes less important. And then in the mix of all of it is conscience. Because when you leave Congress, I was there for 18 years. When you leave Congress, or you leave any political office, at some point you're going to look back and say, what did I do? And if all you can say is that I went to a lot of great party meetings and stuck up for my party, what a waste of time.
Exactly.
To me, it's a waste of time.
Yep.
But there is this pressure all the time to go with the party. And if you don't go with the party, you get heat, or you get cut out of the inner circle. Who cares? Because at the end, I can tell you, having held elected office for 30 years, at the end, all you have is your reputation, and all you have is the way you feel about yourself when you look in the mirror. And not all of us are flawed. Everybody wants to be in the inner group.
Sure.
I was reading this article the other day. This guy got fired because he was on the air and he was attacking Trump, and they walked in, told him he was fired.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that because he went outside the norms of what was expected there?
Well,
I give the guy a lot of credit. I give him a lot of credit for taking his position. Now he can feel good about himself rather than knuckling under.
Yeah, and we talked about that. We did a story.
The whole business of poison in politics is not just limited to Republicans. This just happens to be the Republican time in the barrel.
Right.
I mean, this is just the way.
Oh, it's both
been.
sides. It's
Party-
both sides. Make no mistake about it. It's both
Yeah.
sides. I agree with you 110%.
So Governor, we are incredibly divided as a nation right now, more so probably than at any point in time, at least over the last, 40 years, 50 years. Here's my question. How about a Biden Kasich ticket?
What? Which Biden?
No, but how about Joe Biden and you? I mean, that cross ticket. I mean, I think that'd be unbeatable.
I'll tell you what. First of all, I have a lot of Democrats that come up to me and say, I just really love you. I'm a Democrat and I really love you. Why don't you just stop saying you're a Democrat and just say you like me? But the other part of it is I'm the Democrats' favorite Republican until I'm running against the Democrats. Then all of a sudden, I'm not the great guy they thought I was.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be running against. Yeah, but you wouldn't be running against the Democrat because at that point,
I don't think they would pick me, boys. I don't think they would do that.
Well, I think you know what, and I think you're probably right, but I think it bears serious consideration because that would be I'm going to tell you, Governor, that'd be unstoppable, and you would beat Donald Trump. You and Biden would beat Trump, no question.
Okay, I'll let you guys start the campaign. All right? Hey, I got to jump. It's good to talk to you guys.
All right, thank you, Governor. We really appreciate your time.
Hey, listen, for people that are looking for the antidote to all this vitriol, please remember. Can you put it up on your website? It's up to us. 10 little ways we can change the world. And I want to tell you one story before we go.
Sure.
So I was reading about this golfer the other day, and let me tell you, I just talked to him. I called him the other day. He was at a golf tournament down in Argentina.
You're talking about the noise that this mentally. Yeah, go ahead. Yep. Yeah, it's a great story.
So here's this golfer, and he's trying to make one of the tours. He's been doing poorly. He's missed a bunch of cuts in a row, and been trying to get on the PGA Tour. Well, he's down there at this tournament. He turned his game around. And here he is in a playoff competing for number one. And if you win, you get to go to the British Open. And it would open up a whole avenue of opportunities for this guy. Well, the guy that he's playing against made a long putt. And all he had to do was make this 8-footer to continue the playoff where he had a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of his putting stroke, somebody shouts. And he winces and leaves the putt right on the edge of the hole and loses. And he goes to the scoring tent, and he's in there, and he's upset. The guy walks up to him and said, listen, I want you to know that the person that yelled has Down syndrome. And he looked at the guy and said, where is he? Now, this golfer, Brandon Matthews, his mother had worked with his special needs people, and his best friend's sister was a special needs woman. And he went over and met this guy and asked him if he enjoyed the tournament and gave him a big hug and signed a golf glove and gave it to him. And he said, there's a lot more important things than how you do in golf. And I called him because, you see, he changed a part of the world, and people are talking about this because they're so hungry for people who can live a life a little bigger than themselves. And that's really what this book is about. And that Brandon Matthews, he really deserves a great shout out because he obviously is a hero to many people today.
Complete class.
Guys,
yep.
That's what the book's about. Ask your listeners, go ahead and pick up a copy, okay?
John Kasich, I can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, John.
Thank you, Governor.
There you go. Former Governor John Kasich, former presidential candidate. I kind of agree with Michael Avenatti a little bit there. I believe if Joe Biden ran and he picked John Kasich as his vice president, maybe we should start the campaign, Michael.
What are his other options? He can't go too left. If he goes too left, I think he's in serious trouble. But if he goes more center, or even if it is leaning kind of Republican, I think that is a very borderline brilliant strategy to beat Donald Trump.
Michael, do you believe John Kasich when he says he has no aspirations of running?
Well, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier in the show that, James Carville's joke that there's only one thing that cures a man's desire to run for the presidency, and that's embalming fluid. And as gracious as John is, and in light of his comments earlier, of course he's thought about it. But his point is that he doesn't see a path. and you've got to have a path. Anyone that is seriously considering running, you got to look at, okay, what is my path? What is my lane? And how does that differ from other candidates? And right now, he doesn't see a path or a lane, largely because the Republican Party has taken steps to make sure that Donald Trump cannot be challenged in 2020. But that could change. If the Republican Party all of a sudden decides, you know what, we can't have this guy at the top of the ticket, he may not only cost us the White House, but he could also potentially cost us the U.S. Senate. They'll cut this guy loose quicker than you can imagine. As I've said before, I think they have until March to make that determination. And a lot can change between now and March. They're going to have to make a determination as to whether they're going to really ride that horse or not. And if they abandon him, then the floodgates are going to open. And I think that Kasich will have a lane, and a very wide lane.
Well, and you see what happened with Manafort and with Cohen. When you lie for Donald Trump, you're now doing prison time. You're now a criminal. I think that the fact that those two men that were so involved in Trump's campaign are now behind bars, that's why you're seeing the testimonies that you're seeing now. No one's lying for Donald Trump anymore. Everything is on the surface.
I think Sondland tried to, and then when people around him said, hey, that's probably not a good idea, then he changed his testimony a little bit, and that's what we're seeing. If you're joining us, we have Michael Avenatti in studio. Oh boy, if you think these last few segments were fun, wait till the next segment. Michael Avenatti has a friendship and a relationship with actor and comedian Tom Arnold. Is that right, Michael?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Although sometimes I want to disclaim that, but generally, yes. Generally, that's true.
Well,
I think Tom's a good guy.
I think Tom's hilarious. He's the reason why I bring him up. Guess what? He's joining us next. So I don't know what type of mood we're going to see Tom Arnold in. I don't think he's ever just quiet and laid back.
It's definitely a mixed bag.
It is a mixed bag, but I don't know what type of Tom Arnold we are going to get.
I can assure you he will be entertaining. I can guarantee.
I agree with you there. When we had both of you guys on the air a few months ago, it was must listen to radio. So anyway, Michael Avenatti joining us in studio. We appreciate John Kasich being a class act and joining us, although he didn't like it when Michael said that he might be a little better on TV than John. But that was the only thing that got him a little angry.
I know you're kidding. I am better. No, I was somewhat kidding, but I am better.
You probably are. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Michael Avenatti in studio. Actor-comedian Tom Arnold coming up next. You are listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
From office parties to family get-togethers, if you tend to overdrink, the holidays aren't always the most wonderful time of the year. But quitting completely? Well, that's just not realistic. Sound familiar? Meet LifeBack, a modern science-based approach that allows you to effectively cut back on your alcohol consumption, using medication that's clinically proven to reduce the urge to overdrink in 92% of people. LifeBack makes drinking a choice rather than a need. Plus, LifeBack is completely private, with online doctor consults, medication delivered discreetly to your doorstep, and coaching and support tools through the app. LifeBack comes with a free online doctor consultation and 30-day money-back guarantee, and the program costs less than 1 drink per day. Don't wait for end-of-the-year regrets. Starting the physician-approved LifeBack program now will allow you to drink normally during the holiday season and go into the new year healthier and happier. Visit lifebac.com or call 888-959-8858 today to learn more. That's lifebac.com or call 888-959-8858 today.
Are you taking Cialis or Viagra? Marley Drug has generics of both for just $12 per tablet. That's a savings of $60 per dose. Marley Drug is an independent pharmacy delivering generic Cialis and Viagra to your door for $12 per tablet. Call Marley Drug at 800-870-4787. That's 800-870-4787. Again, 800-870-4787.
Most people think all short-term lenders are the same, and for the most part, they're right. But those people have not discovered how quick, easy, safe, and inexpensive it is to get a signature loan at the DLC. At Dollar Loan Center, you can get a signature loan up to $5,000 in just minutes, and you don't need a checking account or collateral. It's easy to qualify, and you only pay interest for the time you have the loan out. That's different, way different. If you already have a loan at one of those payday companies, we can really help. Give us a call, and we'll show you how much you can save by borrowing from us and paying off your other loans. Spoiler alert, it's a lot of money, sometimes over half. We love to say yes, give credit line increases, and we report your positive history to your credit.
Licensed by Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet the normal loan qualifications. To review loan qualifications, visit us at don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
Parents, you always say you want what's best for your children. If that's the case, then you should be bringing your kid to Infinity, the Math Institute, where every student earns an A or B in math. Our results are proven and they are amazing. The best tutoring service for the best price, whether online or in person, small group or one-on-one. You cannot get better results. Great grades will come when your child truly understands the math. From elementary math to calculus, we have the best tutors, the best materials, and the best results. Now offering free parent seminars on how to better help your child, what is Common Core, and more. Find out why parents are bragging and students are enjoying school again by calling 702-768-1777. That's 702-768-1777 or visit themathinstitute.com today. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you, because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
Special report, House impeachment inquiry. Fiona Hill, the former top Russia expert on the National Security Council, is testifying at this hour.
Fiona Hill says Russia has been pushing what she calls an alternate narrative, that it was Ukraine that interfered in the 2016 election.
This falls into a long pattern of deflection and of the Russian government trying to pin the blame on someone else.
And Hill tells the House Intelligence Committee Russia interfered before and it's doing it again.
We're running out of time to stop them.
And Hill says U.S. support for Ukraine is wrongly being politicized. Linda Kenyon, Capitol Hill.
David Holmes, an aide in the embassy in Kyiv, testified about a phone call he overheard between President Trump and Ambassador Gordon Sondland.
I then heard President Trump ask, so he's going to do the investigation. Ambassador Sondland replied that he's going to do it, adding that President Zelensky will do anything you ask him to do. Even though I did not take notes of these statements, I have a clear recollection that these statements were made.
Hill and Holmes continue their testimony. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Dispatch Health. Watch for slowing for an accident on I-15 southbound at Spring Mountain. Vehicles off right. On the surface streets, a crash reported Desert Inn at Valley View, that is with injury sustained. Watch for police and fire staged at the scene. There may be slowing and lane restrictions. Also a crash, Russell at Cameron Street. That one should be in the clearing stage. When you're sick, every minute counts. Go to dispatchhealth.com, where high-quality medical care comes to you. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about medical professionals who make house calls. Dispatch Health, covered by most insurance. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who owes back taxes, if you get nervous when the mail comes because you might get a letter from the IRS, then you've heard. Their enforcement agents are cracking down this year and can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts. Even your home or business could be at risk over unpaid taxes. It's all true, but it's also true there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative, an important government program for tax debt assistance. The award-winning experts at Optima Tax Relief will fight to get you the best deal possible, protecting your paycheck and your assets from IRS collections. But don't delay, because the IRS is tacking on interest and hefty penalties every single day. So don't wait until it's too late. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they're the right hire. We'll also have a dolphin chatter excitedly in front of the perfect candidate. Okay, there's no dolphin. But skills tests, that's a for sure.
See why independent research by Silk Road shows Indeed delivers 3 times more hires than any other job site. Visit Indeed.com/promo today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply.
If your retirement plan is on set it and forget it, it's time to take control. Tune in Saturday at 4 p.m. for Financial Safari with America's Wealth Coach and best-selling author, Coach Pete D'Arruda. For more than 25 years, Coach Pete has been helping people just like you plan for retirement. Join Coach Pete every week as he discusses topics like why your retirement plan should also be an income plan and how to make sure you're getting the most out of your 401k. Financial Safari with Coach Pete, Saturday afternoons at 4 on KDWN 101.5 FM and 720 AM.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Hi, Doug Basham here. Join me Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4, and I'll tell you what your conservative, corporate-controlled, right-wing propaganda hate media isn't. You're welcome. That's Saturday afternoons, 2 to 4. Be there.
And now a message from the traffic cone you ran over on Blue Diamond last week.
Okay, ow, that hurt. I know, you're in a hurry, but I could have been killed. Look, I have a wife and a baby cone on the way. I'm out there risking it all. And for what? I'll tell you. Southern Nevada's economic future. I'm helping the I-11 get built and the Centennial Bowl. So show a cone a little love.
Love the cone. For road construction details, visit seeingorangenv.com or call 702-928-CONE.
A Home for Spot is a nonprofit group of dog lovers whose mission is to rescue, provide sanctuary, and ultimately to rehome abandoned, stray, and neglected dogs. To donate, foster, or adopt, go online to ahome4spot.com.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Well, do you seriously think anybody on this stage is proposing invading Mexico?
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. It is hour number 2. Glad you could join us, Sharp and Shapiro. Also joining us in studio is attorney Michael Avenatti. And if you'd like to watch the live stream, we are broadcasting live not only on the airwaves on KDWN, but also on YouTube, our Vegas Take page. Check that out as well. So Michael has developed a lot of relationships with quote-unquote celebrities over the years, right? And one of these celebrities that we have on the line right now, I'm actually a big fan of his. Extremely funny guy. He's done so many great movies. He's one of my favorite guys from the big screen. It is none other than Tom Arnold. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. So, Tom, your buddy Michael Avenatti is here in studio. I want you guys to talk a little bit about the debate last night and, of course, the impeachment inquiry. But let's start with that. Have you been watching any of these impeachment inquiry hearings on television, and what do you make of it?
Well, Dr. Fiona Hill is amazing. She's, today's been really interesting. She has more courage, obviously, than the entire Republican Party. She's laid out a very, it's a little frightening, what's going on because, what's happened is, Russia's case and what Putin has wanted, which was this nonsense about Ukraine. That's exactly what he tried to sell in 2016. And now Trump and these guys are pushing that they're the actual bad guys and not Russia, which has been proven time and time again. And they're that conspiracy again, and she's laid it out because that's where she works, and she's calmly laid it out, and then they're pushing back. Well, what about Hunter Biden and this nonsense? And it's so sad that it's a sad thing that we have this impeachment stuff. It's really sad for our country. It's sad that we have to do it. It's sad to see these congressmen and women up there making fools of themselves. And then to have these amazing people up here testifying that have worked their whole lives in foreign service and diplomacy and things. It's sad for our country. It's embarrassing, but got to do it, I guess.
So Tom, this is Michael. You know what I think? I think that if they're going to call Hunter Biden to testify, we ought to have Jerry Falwell Jr. testify. What do you think about that?
Well, Jerry Falwell Jr. had to go into court last week and settle up with Pool Boy. He wants to be called Pool Attendant, number 1 down in Miami, because I started tweeting about the new tape that's out there confirming everything. But when Michael Cohen went to prison, he tried to convince me, oh, no, Tom, it's just Becky Falwell and the one guy. And since he's gone to prison, I've got new confirmation. Oh, no, Jerry and Mr. Grande, pool attendant, not pool boy. No, and so then he immediately went in and So there's been new light shed. And by the way, these guys are heroes, the pool attendants, because they started this whole thing by coming forward about these, because Jerry Falwell also has fixers, a guy named Woody, who comes down there and starts threatening these young men and saying, you better shut up about these relationships that Jerry has with Giancarlo Grande and Becky has with the other fellow, Jesus Hernandez, or Martinez, that had to change his name, or else you're going to be in trouble. The one kid's a lawyer now in Miami, and so I said, boy, people shouldn't threaten you guys. And I said, how can I be of service to you guys? And by the way, that's what Michael Cohen getting involved to help Trump and help the election. That really kind of changed things in 2016 because Jerry Falwell Jr. was supporting Ted Cruz, and all of a sudden Michael Cohen went up to him in Iowa at the Iowa caucus, it was called at the time, and said, I still have the picture from when I helped you with the pool boy situation, the naked pictures. And boy, it'd be great if you supported Donald Trump. I kept one, by the way. And Jerry Falwell Jr. is like, oh my God, I'm going to support Donald Trump because he's the most like Jesus. And so that really turned the tide, because then the evangelicals, they're amazing, the evangelicals, especially the buddy ones. What's it called? The buddy gospel or whatever they call themselves. But they all said, well, if Jerry Falwell Jr. support Donald Trump, it must be okay because he's the most like Jesus. And that's how he got elected. So
Tom, you've always been open about your, and if you're just joining us, by the way, speaking of the actor comedian Tom Arnold, you've always been open and honest about your life, abuse that, horrible things that have happened in your life and how you've persevered and pushed forward. So I want to ask you a little bit about Jim Jordan. I am not a Jim Jordan fan. I don't think anybody in this room is. So what do you make of this whole thing where, he's the assistant coach, right, of the wrestling team.
Right.
And you have dozens and dozens and dozens of kids that apparently were being sexually molested. Several of those kids say that they did go into Jim Jordan's office and told him about it, and Jordan allegedly did nothing about it. As someone like yourself who sadly has been abused yourself, what do you make of this story?
Well, first of all, I believe them. Just like with Jerry Sandusky and with things that happened up there where other coaches knew about it. Jim Jordan, there's been 10 kids that told their coach. And by the way, you know how these programs go, and the coaches share. And he's an assistant coach at Ohio State. And there's been a lot of nonsense in wrestling programs around the country. Dennis Haspert was the Speaker of the House of Representatives. He happened to be a Republican. It can happen in any party, but he's in prison now. And he was a wrestling coach. One of his wrestlers committed suicide because he was raped by Dennis Haspert. And so there's a history of people in gymnastics programs, in wrestling programs that get away with this, that literally turned a blind eye. And that's what Jim Jordan did. Now, he didn't even acknowledge, he hasn't even acknowledged these. He said they're all lying. And that's a problem because that doctor has, it's confirmed all of the stuff that he has did. And by the way, these guys don't get away with it unless either parents or other coaches. And for this guy to have sexually assaulted, hundreds of athletes.
Face to face with Jim Jordan, what would you say to him right now?
Oh, I'd say you are a coward. You are a liar. You are. I mean, I just get. Yeah. I get in his little face. You're no Dan Gable, number one. Yeah. But he is. It is so the hypocrisy to defend a man, Donald Trump, that has 27 legitimate accusations of sexual assault. And to say this guy, no matter what anybody says about this guy, I'm standing up for him. But then they have these kids, and they are kids. They're in college, but they're kids, and they're in his care. And parents sent them to Ohio State University, and they're vulnerable. And they look up to their doctor, and they look up to their coaches. And my kid, if I sent him there, and this happened to my son, if I was the parents of these kids, I would hunt his little ass down. And I said, you're accountable. And I want to know, when I put my kids in your care, literally in the locker room, they're vulnerable. That's my baby. You better freaking you better take care of that. You better have answers at least.
It is despicable that Trump and the Republicans have put Jim Jordan on point as it relates to defending the president and questioning these witnesses. They have made him, Jim Jordan, really the focal point, if you will, of their defense in light of these accusations that he enabled the molestation of boys. The fact that they know that and that they don't care about it, and yet they would put him on point is despicable and inexcusable in my view.
And also you have to understand, they should have had hearings in Congress, right? Live hearings that had, to understand the trauma that does. And I've always been open about being raped as a child and as an adult. When I got sober, I went back and found the pedophile and confronted him, and then 30 other boys came forward, and just what that does to you, and the trauma, and then when my kid was born, and then when he got my age, when he turned 4, and then realizing, oh my God, I was that, I look like that, and then having to deal with that and work on myself, and again, and that trauma that's in you, and same with girls, and these girls that were victims of, and I don't care if you're 13, 14, 15, it's trauma, the Epstein victims, and the coercion, and the trauma that it sticks with you. It's not a one-time thing. It's burned in your brain. And, when I started working on the trauma, I could smell the laundry in the backyard of the pedophile's house. Okay, when we went back and started remembering the room he took into, it is burned in your brain. It's burned in those athletes' brain, that trauma from that moment. And they should have had hearings in Congress so America could have learned about the trauma.
Sure.
But they couldn't even do that with Epstein because Trump was a buddy of Epstein.
So, Tom,
I'm not saying he did it with him, but I'm saying he was a buddy of his.
Of course.
It's embarrassing when the
No, it
president is a pal. So we can't even cover stuff because of, the accusations on our president. And then you got Jim Jordan that's involved with this.
But Tom, look, I mean, we got to call it like it is, right? Epstein had a lot of friends in powerful places on both sides of the aisle. I mean, yes, Trump was a pal, but at one point Bill Clinton was a pal.
Absolutely.
I mean, there was a lot of, if we're going to be credible, if we're going to be credible. Just let me finish. I know if we're going to absolutely,
but have right now. Let's deal with. I don't care. Let's take them all down.
Yeah.
Screw them all. But this is an important moment because we're learning so much about the victims and the trauma, and people are speaking out. And that's one of the great things about the Me Too movement is it's giving voice to victims, and we're understanding how this works.
Right.
And get these people in there. And
Tom,
look at the Michigan state gymnastics program, the U.S. gymnastics program. Those women, those tiny women, stood up there and said, "Screw you. We're taking this back. We are powerful." That's an amazing thing.
I think what Tom is trying to say is he's not pledging his support. Tom, I don't think you'll be voting in Jim Jordan. Is that what you're trying to say?
No.
Look. When it comes to victimizing kids, I could care less whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, whether you're famous, whether you're not famous, a celebrity or not. If you victimize a kid, a boy or a girl, you should be appropriately outed and punished. I don't care what party you come from, period.
So let me ask you this, Tom. Being a Hollywood guy, I mean, I would imagine guys that have guys like Kevin Spacey, for example, who have been ousted from Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein. I mean, these are guys that I would imagine you've not only met, but maybe even had friends. I don't know if you've ever been friends with any of these guys.
I got into a fight with Harvey Weinstein once, but he was I can't say, can I say asshole?
Yes.
Yes, I think that's
he was a guy that tried to bully people too. Kevin Spacey, I liked him. I thought he was, he was a very talented actor. He was odd, but he's very talented. But he preyed on young guys. He preyed on them. And when you look back, you're like, oh yeah, he was. I was in Germany at the Deauville Film Festival. The night before, I was sitting around with Jay Roach, and the Game Change had just come out. And my friend wrote it, the movie about the 2008. And Jay Roach directed it. We're sitting around because I had a movie, Gardens of the Night, ironically, about this pedophile, these street kids, and it won some awards. And we were sitting around there, and the night before, Spacey had a picture of himself at the bar with his finger up a guy's butt. I'm like, what the? Nobody would say anything. I go, what the F is wrong with Spacey? Like, people didn't want to say anything, and then everybody started like laughing. They're like,
God, I haven't even had lunch
somebody
yet.
said something. Like, it's just like, what is his deal? Like, you know,
all right, Tom, let's get into some funny subjects now, because I don't want to have to take antidepressants after the show.
No.
Is Tom Cruise?
You just got to call it like.
Is
and I'm
Tom
so
Cruise
glad that
straight?
these
Yes or
people
no?
stood up.
Is Tom? Does Tom Cruise like women? Yes or no?
Oh yeah, he likes women.
He does.
He likes
Okay,
women.
fair.
I mean, he loves women.
I want the funny Tom Arnold. I'm getting depressed now.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, he loves. I mean, I don't know what the level that people are. I'll tell you this. I played cards with Mimi Rogers last Wednesday.
She's a good player.
And she sat next to me, and she's amazingly attractive, and I love her. I'll tell you what, she's got it going on. You can see I tweeted a picture because Kelly Hu had a straight flush, and when you get a straight flush at that card game, Norby Walters' Wednesday night card game, and it's all.
What is a conversation like between Tom Arnold and Mimi Rogers at the poker table?
Man, I'll tell you what, Ed Asner won so much money, and he turned 90. We had his birthday cake there, and she turned to me and goes, and she was kind of serious, like she's like, should we roll him afterwards? I was like, yes, I love you so much. Like, she's funny. Like, everybody at that game it's all like famous TV dads, like Dan Lauria from the Wonder Years is a really good player, and Robert Wool was playing, and there's a whole bunch of everybody's like famous, and I looked at her eyes like, yes, she might do that with me. I love Ed Asner, but he had a lot of money, and he wasn't quite sure how to get home, and I was like, yeah, she might actually, just for a second, you know. I like that in a woman.
So were you able to convince him, you and Mimi, that he'd only won $10?
No. He had his son. I'll tell you what. He is a great poker player. You know.
What is the most money you've ever lost in one night, Tom? Gambling.
I don't play. I'm not a gambler, but that game. So I mean, I like playing when I come to Vegas. I love to play the slots because I'm a little on the spectrum, you know. And so I just love putting money in it.
Well, when Tom Arnold comes to Las Vegas, Tom Arnold, a single Tom Arnold on a Saturday night, besides playing slot machines, what does a Tom Arnold do on the Strip?
Man, I like to go to shows. I mean, I like to.
That's boring.
Because my kids are 6 and almost 4. They love the lights. They love, believe it or not, we love Vegas. We've driven up there. We love it. We like the drive. My kids, it's a fantastic, like, it's like the most exciting place in the world I know it seems insane, but we like to drive there. We like looking. We like everything about Vegas. And it doesn't seem like it'd be a good kid thing, but we just think it's the most fantastic. First of all, my kids think, you know, all the stuff like it's a New York City and France, all the things. They think that's what it is. So they're buying into everything they think Vegas is like the mood, like the best place in the world.
Tom, we have a question for you that just came in. It might be inappropriate, but I'll ask it anyway. They want to know: did you ever see Jamie Lee Curtis naked on the set of True Lies?
Yes,
you did.
I did.
What was that like? What was that site like?
Well, it was. Well, first of all, Trading Places. You know, John Landis directed Trading Places and The Stupids, and he directed Animal House. But she was topless there. But yes, I did. She's a free spirit. And what was it like? It was freaking amazing. And by the way, I don't think I was the only one. No, I wasn't the only one. The crew loves her. All you have to do is make a joke like, well, I like, and then she does it. Like, she is like she's like right, you know, like she.
When do you think
look, no fool.
All I'm going to say is, you know, 10 minutes ago we were talking about digital stimulation of the anus, and now we're Jamie Lee Curtis naked. So at least we're upgrading, although it's a very slow climb.
Be honest, Tom. When do you think was the last time Melania Trump had sex with Donald Trump?
Oh, Jesus. I can't even imagine.
She likes that. She likes the security guy that looks a little like me from Tiffany's.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think they've had sex in years. I don't know that he has.
You've been divorced before, so you know what it's like to be in a volatile marriage.
I mean, they might have been bumped into each other, walking around, just kind of been yelling at each other. Like,
is there any chance, Tom, that Melania and Donald are married in, say, 5 years?
Jesus. I mean, just having to think about those two disgusting people in my head. Yeah, there's a chance.
A chance. When was the last time you talked to Roseanne?
Oh, geez. It's been a long. Maybe at her roast when I did a roast, which
That
was
was
the first
funny.
time I talked to her in 18 years.
That was funny. Yeah, that was a good roast. Well, Tom, listen, man, I always appreciate it when you come on our show. Thank you so much for taking some time. We talked about some serious issues, and then we switched it up, as Michael said. We talked about some different
talking
issues.
to Michael too. I mean, this guy has. There's so many people trolling him.
Oh, I know.
Sometimes I get involved with them, and they're
idiots.
The worst people.
Well, social
I have
media,
terrible
man.
Trolls on Twitter. He's got groups of people that are like, we're gonna. And I kind of watch them going, yeah, let's get together on Saturday, and then we're gonna troll Michael Avenatti. We think we're so funny. It's just the worst people in the world. Then I'll get involved with them. I'm like, and they're just so.
What's
stupid.
the worst thing? Okay, we only got about a minute here, but Tom, what is the worst thing that somebody said to you, like on social media, that you can say on the radio?
I don't even care. I couldn't care less because they repeat the same things. They're so stupid. They repeat the same. Like I can't even imagine. You know, last week when we had the Nancy Pelosi, the small call where we're kind of game planning, the veterans, the guy that's head of our veterans group said that the Vets 4, the number 4 Trump org has a server in Macedonia, and they get in when a veteran dies, they take their identity, and then they start registering them to vote, and they're connected to the Veterans Administration. That's awesome. That's awful. I care about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like and by the way, they're paid by the Trump org.
Yeah.
This group out of Macedonia. That's bad. The Twitter stuff, that doesn't bother me.
No, I hear you. Tom, thank you so much for your time. We always appreciate it. And when you come back to Vegas, we would love to have you in studio one of these days. Really appreciate it, my man. Big fan of your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Take care, buddy.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Tom.
The actor, comedian, Tom Arnold. I was getting depressed, Michael. The first 15 minutes of that interview, I was getting very sad and depressed. I needed the funny Tom Arnold to come out a little bit there. We got a little bit of that. Tom was
so you got the Kevin Spacey picture story,
right?
Yeah, that was.
And Tom Cruise does like women a lot.
Well, you know, I asked
Jamie Lee Curtis looks good naked.
I asked Jay Moore that question too.
By the way, let me just say this about the Kevin Spacey situation, and I don't know the history of Kevin Spacey or what other instances are out there. Let me be really clear about this, but I will say this: the case that he was being prosecuted in.
Yes, massage
Massachusetts. No, in Massachusetts, relating to the alleged incident, I believe at the waiter at the bar.
Correct.
That whole thing fell apart because because the waiter at the bar basically doctored his cell phone and had erased various text messages and other things. And the prosecution had to throw the case out because it looked like it was bogus. And and he was raked over the coals in connection with that case. And he wasn't exonerated, but they did not prosecute him because of some conduct of the accuser.
Yeah, in another case, one of his accusers died.
All right. Well, we got to continue this conversation on the other side of the break. We got to take a quick break. Michael Avenatti going to be sticking around for hour number 3. We'll be back right after this.
Here's the latest from Newsmax. President Trump is surging in the polls, but Pelosi and Schiff still want to impeach him. What's really their agenda? Find out tonight on Newsmax TV's special Exposing the Witch Hunt Against Trump. See Pat Buchanan, Michelle Malkin, Bill O'Reilly, Alan Dershowitz, and more. Tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax TV. Newsmax TV is on DirecTV, Xfinity, Dish, Spectrum, Fios, Optimum, Uverse, Suddenlink, and more. Check your channel guide. Newsmax TV is real news for real people.
Whenever it rains, it's hard not to think about all the folks right here in our community who have no roofs over their heads, no way to dry off, no relief from the storm. Wouldn't it be nice to give them a dry place to sleep tonight, or a warm cup of soup, or just a simple umbrella? Well, you can by giving to the Salvation Army, where every donation fights for good. Visit GiveWestwood.org now to help fund programs that provide shelter, food, and hope to our neighbors most in need.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702 702-570-2240.
Hearing loss is a growing health issue, but did you know that an estimated 1.1 billion young people worldwide are at risk of developing the condition? Limit your exposure to loud noises and use ear protection when attending sporting events or concerts. Also, limit your earbud headphones to no more than 60 minutes at a time and at 60% of the volume. And talk to your primary care physician or other health professional to get a hearing test. Go to www.hearingloss.org. A public service message from the Hearing Loss Association of America, High Health Innovations, and this station.
Maybe it's time to take a fresh look at everything we thought we knew about landing a great job. For instance, what if phenomenal careers start at the middle school science fair instead of at the job fair? If being the captain of the robotics team means just as much on a college application as being captain of the football team. And if knowing the quadratic formula is every bit as important as knowing the right people. Well, the fact is, the jobs of the future will be heavily geared towards science, technology, engineering, and math. In other words, the future is STEM. More opportunities, better pay. And the road to these great jobs starts as early as middle school. So if you're a student, talk to your school counselor about STEM. If you're a parent, talk to your kids. Because the job you'll get in the future may very well depend on what you do today. A public service message from America's Navy.
Kilmeade, Hannity, Levin. 1015 FM, 720 AM, KDWN, Las Vegas. A Beasley Media Group station.
Special report, House impeachment inquiry. Former White House Russia expert Fiona Hill says she's troubled by Ambassador Gordon Sondland's work in Ukraine.
It struck me yesterday when you put up on the screen Ambassador Sondland's emails and who was on these emails, and he said, these are the people who need to know that he was absolutely right, because he was being involved in a domestic political errand. And we were being involved in national security foreign policy, and those two things had just diverged.
She testifies Sondland was working to get Ukraine to conduct investigations on behalf of President Trump, and she confronted him.
I said, well, who put you in charge, Ambassador Sondland? And he said, the president.
Did that surprise you when he told you that?
It did surprise me. We'd had no directive. We hadn't been told this. Ambassador Bolton had never indicated in any way that he thought that Ambassador Sondland was playing a leading role in Ukraine.
She also criticized Rudy Giuliani, the president's personal lawyer. I'm Mike Moss. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the impeachment hearings have been demonstrative to her.
The evidence is clear that the president has used his office for his own personal gain, and in doing so undermined the national security of the United States.
The Senate's given final congressional support to a bill funding the government. Correspondent Linda Kenyon reports.
The bill extends government funding through December 20th. It gives Congress more time to reach bipartisan agreement on all of the 12 annual appropriations bills that fund the federal government. While the House has already passed the short-term bill, the Senate had hit a snag as it tried to pass the measure on Wednesday. Holding off the vote until today left only hours to send the bill to the president for his signature.
Former Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh has pleaded guilty to conspiracy and tax evasion stemming from the sale of her children's books. On Wall Street, the Dow was down 23, S&P down 4 points. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the KDON Traffic Center.
This report sponsored by Dispatch Health. Accident reported on Desert Inn Road east of Paradise with injury sustained. Watch for police and fire at the scene. Elsewhere, a crash reported Harmon at Las Vegas Boulevard. Taking a look at I-15 right now. Traffic conditions are pretty good. There are no serious delays on I-15 at Sahara. Watch for a stalled vehicle off to the right on 15 South. When you're sick, every minute counts. Go to dispatchhealth.com where high-quality medical care comes to you. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about medical professionals who make house calls. Dispatch Health covered by most insurance. John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
For more than a year, the whole of Vermont was captivated by the hunt for a runaway golden retriever. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press. Available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 1015 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Hi, I'm Raymond Denon, Vice President of Optima Tax Relief.
If you're in debt to the IRS, there's a lot you need to know. Starting with rule number 1, don't mess with the IRS. They can garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, even take your home or business. That's all true. But it's also true that there's a way out. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative. It's one of the biggest breaks the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands, even tens of thousands. Nobody knows this program like us, the experts at Optima Tax Relief. We have an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we've resolved over $500 million in tax debt for our clients. We'll stand between you and the IRS and fight to get you the best deal possible. Don't mess with the IRS. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima for a free consultation.
Call 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922. 800-375-2922.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hi, this is Harvey Blankfeld, host of Las Vegas Real Estate Now. We are saying farewell to Tuesdays at 9 a.m. and moving to Saturdays at 11 a.m. Please do tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. and learn about real estate right here on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
Are your investment dollars really going to work for you? The average Vestar Check client gets 78% annual returns. That's right, 78% annual returns for over 2 decades with a recession-proof investment class they just started offering to the public. And for a limited time, you can begin enjoying these amazing annual returns. Call now for more info and to take advantage of 6 months absolutely free. This offer won't last, so call now at 888-88-PROFIT. Call Vestar Tech now. That's 888-88-PROFIT.
Would you risk crossing a street busy with traffic, against the light,
Watch where you're going.
wearing a blindfold? Probably not. Other risks aren't as obvious, but could be just as deadly, like the risk for type 2 diabetes. Take the free diabetes risk test to learn if you're at risk. Go to diabetes.org/take-the-test or call 1-800-DIABETES and stop diabetes before it stops you. A message from the American Diabetes Association.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Hill with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Children love to play, but did you know play is important for healthy brain development? Play helps children learn language, math, and social skills, and lowers stress. This is good for kids and their parents. The next time your child wants to play with you, say yes. It's one of the best parts of being a parent. For more information on child development, visit healthychildren.org or talk with your pediatrician.
720 on the AM, 101.5 FM. Yeah, now on FM. The only FM news talk station in Las Vegas. KDON. Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, rolling out hour number 3 with Michael Avenatti in studio. You know what? We haven't taken any phone calls to this point. We had Anthony Scaramucci on. We had John Kasich on. We had Tom Arnold on. And we have another guest next segment. But if you have a question or a comment for Michael Avenatti, now is the time to do it as he joins us live in studio. The number to call, 257-5396. Again, that number, if you want to be a part of the program and you have a question or comment for Michael Avenatti, it could be about the impeachment inquiry hearings. It could be about the presidential elections in 2020. Anything. Give us a buzz, 702-257-5396. Michael, let's start. We talked a little bit about the debates last night, but I want to play you a clip when Pete Buttigieg and Tulsi Gabbard went at it with one another. I want you to listen to this exchange from the debate, the MSNBC debate last night. Here it is.
I think the most recent example of your inexperience in national security and foreign policy came from your recent careless statement about how you as president would be willing to send our troops to Mexico to fight the cartels.
I know that it's par for the course in Washington to take remarks out of context, but that is outlandish even by the standards of today's politics.
Are you saying that you didn't say that?
I was talking about U.S.-Mexico cooperation. We've been doing security cooperation with Mexico for years. Well, do you seriously think anybody on this stage is proposing invading Mexico?
That's not
I'm
what
talking
I said.
about
That's not
building
what I
up.
said.
I'm talking about.
All right, what do you make of that exchange? I think Pete Buttigieg got her there. What do you make of that exchange?
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good. Tulsi Gabbard is no Donald Trump, though. And, it would be interesting to see whether Buttigieg could actually take it to Trump on a debate stage. I mean, look, I'm a fan of the guy. I think he's incredibly intelligent. I wish he was, 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 years older at this point. I don't know that I don't think he's going to be the nominee. I hope he's not the nominee this time around because, as I've said, I think Biden gives the Democrats the very best shot. Although, Mayor Pete is near the top of the list as it relates to the additional other candidates. I mean, the guy's, he's pretty quick on his feet. He's smart. He's got military service. There's a lot of things to like about him. However, there's a glaring problem, and that is that his support among the African American community is zero. And I'm just going to say this: if they don't fix that, if they don't figure that out, like now, as in yesterday, he's not going to go anywhere. I mean, this whole narrative around him that he has no support among the black community, which is accurate right now, that's just going to continue to take hold day in and day out, and it could haunt him for the balance of his political career. So he better figure that out. And if he can't figure it out, he's done.
I agree. Joining us in studio, that is the voice of attorney Michael Avenatti. Phone lines are open if you want to give us a call, 702-257-5396. Once again, that number is 257-5396. Why don't we start off with Anna? Anna, you are on with Michael Avenatti. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hello, everybody there at the studio. How are you guys doing?
Good, good. Thanks for calling in.
Michael Avenatti, I really have to say this to you. Can you please give Joe Biden a phone call? I don't care if you got to text him, email him, tweet him, Instagram him, because he needs to know what to say when he gets out there on that stage. Because when he gets out there, all he does is crumble every chance that he gets.
Yeah. So Anna, what was your question for Michael?
My question is this. Is there any possible way, Michael Avenatti, that you can teach him or write him a letter helping him out on his speeches on that stage?
That's a fair question, Anna.
It is so terrible when he gets out there, and for some reason when he's standing next to Kamala, he shrivels up.
All right, let's see what
he falls. We all see it.
That's a fair question, Anna. We appreciate the phone call. Michael, what would you say to that?
Well, I mean, here's what I'm going to say. I've spoken to some people that are very close to the vice president. A few months ago, actually, and my points were, I'm not going to tell you everything I said, but I mean, my points are as follows. First of all, he needs to act like the former vice president of the United States. He needs to bring that persona. He should really be carrying himself as if he's the only one that belongs on that stage. Yep. He should own that. He should elevate himself above the other candidates. Now, some people say, no, that would be presumptuous. BS. He needs to act and carry himself with that gravitas, in my view. He also needs to basically conduct himself in such a way where it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to be the nominee. Most of his time should not be spent responding to attacks of others. It should be focused on how the hell he's going to beat Donald Trump. And if I was Joe Biden, I would be constantly reminding people during the debate, through my words, I am the person that has the best shot of beating Donald Trump. I am the man with the most relevant experience who can take over and right this ship as quickly as possible. And he needs to continue to drive those points home. And I don't think he's doing an especially good, good job of it right now. But again, I think that I think he needs to be the nominee. I mean, he's not a perfect candidate, but he gives us the best shot.
He is Michael Avenatti. We're taking your phone calls, 257-5396. Let's go to Austin. Austin, you're next. You're on with Michael. Go ahead.
What's up, Austin?
Hey, Michael, listen, I'm a Trump supporter, and that's okay. We have just different opinions, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
I am curious about Tom Steyer. He is a very interesting candidate to me. What's your thoughts on him?
All right. Thank you for the question, Austin.
Tom Steyer is, I consider him a patriot. He's really put his money where his mouth is. I mean, he's been passionate about this effort to impeach Trump. And when he has spoken about what he considers to be the threat to the republic that Donald Trump is, I don't think he's going to catch fire. Unfortunately for him, I think he got in the race late. He doesn't have great name ID. A lot of people view him as buying himself, a ticket onto the stage, if you will, and there's a lot of truth to that. I don't think that candidacy is going anywhere, and I question why he's in the race right now, frankly, when he could be taking that money and putting it to use, whether it be supporting other candidates or an independent expenditure committee to take down Trump, et cetera. I don't understand what exactly he's doing.
And if you're in a race, if you're going to stay in the race, why not try to do as many appearances and interviews as possible? We had a chance to get Tom Steyer a couple weeks ago, and he turned us down. If you're going to stay in this race and you're towards the bottom, you've got all this money, get your word out. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree. Joining us in studio, it is Michael Avenatti, and we're taking your phone calls at 257-5396. I'd like to go to Eddie next. Eddie, you are next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead.
What's up, Eddie?
Yes, Biden's position on marijuana or cannabis, it seems to be has some reefer madness talking points. I mean, to some extent, he's to the right of Trump on the issue. He said that he's for medical marijuana and let the states handle the recreational. Is that going to be a problem in the primary, the general, if he's perceived as an old fuddy-duddy on cannabis?
All right, valid question, Eddie. We appreciate the call. Michael, what do you say?
Yeah, Eddie, I think that's a great question. Look, I think his statements the other day relating to looking into whether marijuana is a gateway drug, et cetera, I think those were unfortunate. I think that was a mistake on his part. And really, it did not reflect, if you look at what his actual policy positions are on marijuana, they're pretty decent. I mean, they're not as progressive, let's say, as some, but they're not far right either. I think that his position has been that there should be no criminalization for marijuana possession. He's clear in that. He believes that recreational use should be left to the states. There should be medical use permitted at the federal level. And he also advocates for removing marijuana as a scheduled drug in the federal law to allow more research and more options and more legalization at the state level. But see, a lot of people don't know what I just said, because what gets reported is his quotes and his statements about it being a gateway drug. And that was a mistake on his part, because that's what a lot of people now think about his position, that he's, stuck 20 years ago as it relates to marijuana legalization.
Attorney Michael Avenatti joining us in studio. We'll get to more of your calls in a second at 257-5396. But before we get to those calls, I want to play you another exchange yesterday. It involves Tulsi Gabbard again, but also Kamala Harris. We had a little bit of a catfight last night. These two have not liked each other. We all know this. It's been a little while since our last debate. But if you remember, Gabbard went after Kamala Harris several times in a debate. So they're talking yesterday, and I want you to hear this exchange.
It's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for president of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama, who has spent full-time criticizing people on this stage as affiliated with the Democratic Party. When Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party.
Michael, what do you say to that? Kamala Harris, her comments in regards to Tulsi Gabbard, I think she made some very valid points.
No, I think she made some very valid points. I mean, she clearly brought it. People were all excited on social media. Again, Tulsi Gabbard is no Donald Trump. I mean, that's great that Kamala Harris was able to bring it against Tulsi Gabbard, but that doesn't necessarily translate into her ability to bring it against Donald Trump. I thought the issue about the appearances on Fox News, I disagree with Senator Harris and a lot of Democrats. Look, if you're going to be a fighter, if you're going to be tough enough to be the nominee, if you're going to be the person that is going to take on Donald Trump, well, then you ought to be able to go on Fox News and hold yourself together and get after it, right? If you can't go on Fox News, if you're too fearful of going on Fox News, going into the belly of the beast, then there's no way in hell you're going to beat Donald Trump. So I don't agree with these Democrats that say people should not go on Fox News. I think that people should go on Fox News as long as it's, a somewhat fair environment. They're not going to lower your mic levels and do a bunch of the nonsense that Tucker did to me the last time I was on his show. But otherwise, you got to go on Fox News. You got to go in the belly of the beast. If you want, you're talking about being the president of the United States. You can't be fearful of going on a television network.
For the life of me, I just don't understand it. I don't understand why some of these candidates do not want to do specific interviews. Forget about even these big national interviews. For example, on Fox News, getting into a good, solid debate. There are some candidates that are polling less than 1% that will not do local shows like this. And quite frankly, I do not understand
and
it.
again, you don't know who's going to be comfortable with you. You have no idea. And if there's 313 million people in the United States and 140 million are Democratic and 180 million are Republican, you're not going to touch those 180 million that are Republican that like Fox News. So,
but yeah, I mean, let me say this: if you are an individual that Tucker Carlson likes, has an affinity for, you are not a Democrat. And if you are an individual that that Tucker Carlson likes and has an affinity for and wants you to constantly come on his show like Tulsi, you have no shot of beating Donald Trump. Because if you were a threat, they would not have you on.
That's a good, valid point. He is Michael Avenatti. A few phone lines open at 257-5396. Again, that's 702-257-5396. Why don't we go back to the phone calls, and let's go to Ken. Ken, you're on with Michael Avenatti. Go ahead.
What's up, KT?
Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, Brian, I always respect your show, and I'm glad that you're getting Michael Avenatti in studio. It kind of gives you a perspective to where we wouldn't have that feel for the man that you've been having on regularly. And I've been listening, as you know, to your show nonstop, and JD comes on my show on Friday nights. But Michael, you're very well rounded, and I have no doubt what's gone down at the college basketball world will come out, and you'll get your say. I have no doubt there's a lot of stuff that's gone down behind the scenes over the years. I'm very connected in the college basketball world and know a lot of this stuff is not just hearsay. But I wanted to get your take on what recently just came out as far as with Myles Garrett coming out and now saying in the meeting yesterday with the NFL brass that Mason Rudolph used a racial slur, and that helped antagonize everything as far as him with the helmet over the head. First off, I think this guy's very fortunate he's not going to be prosecuted as far as from the legal system, because had that helmet busted the guy's head open, who knows if there could have been brain damage. But I just wanted your take, because I think race relations in this country is at an all-time high as far as problems, division. And when you see what went down with Jussie Smollett, where this stuff is, going down, it really divides the country. A lot of people won't talk about it because they're afraid to talk about it. But I talk about it on my show. I know Brian addresses it as well with JD. I wanted your take. What would you do if you're Mason Rudolph's lawyer now, and you know for fact that your client did not say anything, and it never came out after the game? It did come out yesterday, only because Garrett's trying to diminish his suspension.
And my understanding is Garrett says that Rudolph used the racial slur before the brawl. I guess that is the breaking news there. Ken, we appreciate the phone call and those kind comments. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that this is highly questionable, right? Why are we now first learning of this accusation relating to the racial slur today? I mean, you would have thought that a lot of players, first of all, there's a bunch of players around. You would have thought that a bunch of people would have been talking about that immediately after this incident. It was a high-profile incident. I don't understand. It's now, we first hear about it on Wednesday after the game. 3 or 4 days later, it seems very convenient, frankly. And so, I think Rudolph needs to come out and publicly state that. I mean, he needs to come out and be firm if he did not say it. He needs to be clear that he never said it, that it's a bunch of nonsense. And if he did say it, he better come out and apologize for it and own it. But I'm very suspicious as to whether it was actually said or not, because I don't understand why we're first learning about it now.
Do you think that if he did say it, and there's a million cameras on every single NFL game, you could see if he said that if you really wanted to, but do you think that if he did say it, that it was justified what Myles Garrett did?
Look, I'm having a tough time believing that he said it, also because, there's a lot of black players on the field at that time.
Right.
And you're one of the smallest guys on the field. Okay, so even getting caught up in the moment,
that's a
really good way to get your ass really beaten. Okay, I mean, forget about the helmet, right? You're surrounded by black players, some on the other team, some on your team. And you're the smallest guy in the field, and you're going to use that word. I don't know. Now, look, let me say this. I think that Garrett, clearly should not have used the helmet. I think it was outrageous. I'm not as moved by it as some people. He should be thrown out of the game forever. He should face a year suspension. I don't agree with that. I don't think he should use the helmet as a weapon. But let me tell you who, in my view, should have been suspended much longer than they were, and I forget the guy's name. The player that came in and with the cheap shot on Rudolph with his back turned at the end line in the end zone, okay, that decked him. That's the guy that I think they should have suspended at least 3, if not 5 games, and here's why. I don't like cheap shots. It's like when the Mooch was talking earlier about, people that'll stab you in the chest versus people that'll stab you in the back.
Rance Pravis.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Okay, look, you want to go one-on-one with me head on, you want to stab me in my chest, bring it. Do not do it behind my back. Right. I don't like cheap shots.
No, it's cowards. And by the way, on the record, I will say the same thing. There is no question in my mind he did not use the N-word. That is a joke. That is ridiculous. And I do not believe it for 1 second. Let's go on to Colin Kaepernick. We have a few minutes here before we go to break. My opinion on Colin Kaepernick, of him wearing the Kunta Kinte shirt, was a disgrace. I think Colin Kaepernick is a fraud. And here's what I mean by that. I believe when he first took a knee, he probably did it for the right reasons. I'm going to believe that about him. But since then, he's made more money off the field than on the field. He has no real aspirations of being an NFL player again because he wouldn't have worn that shirt. This was a job interview, Michael. For example, if somebody comes into your law office and wants a job, wants to work for you, okay? Regardless of what their resume is, if they come in wearing a shirt that says white power or they come in wearing a shirt that says Kunta Kinte, is that the kind of guy that you're going to hire, regardless of how smart he is or how good of an attorney you think he might be?
Well, I mean, look, I'm going to push back a little bit on you in this regard, and I have some information about this. He has not earned nearly what he would earn playing in the NFL off the field.
So you're telling me you know how much money Nike is paying him?
I'm not going to get into the details, Brian, but here's what I am going to tell you: he has earned significantly less, millions less dollars.
How is that possible?
Than he
the
would
average person had no idea who this guy was, and now millions and millions of people know who this guy is.
But it doesn't. I'm just telling you, it's not. It does not translate into that much money in his pocket. I'm not saying he hasn't done well. What I'm saying though is, if he was actually playing in the NFL the last 3 years, he would have made exponentially more dollars than he has. That's the truth. I'm telling you right now, that's the truth.
Okay, JD, as a backup quarterback in the NFL, what do you think he'd be making per year right now?
He had a contract at $13.5 million a year before he left the league, but he also had a terrible final year where he fumbled the ball 13 times. I don't think he has what it takes to be a starting quarterback. As a backup, he'd make between $3 and $5 million. From what I understand, I thought he had a $20 million contract with Nike. Right now, an endorsement deal.
Well, look, there's a lot of different things that have been reported, but I'm just telling you, if he was in the league, he would be making more money. And I don't buy into that. These people that say that he doesn't want to play, I don't agree with that.
Then why would he wear that shirt,
No,
Michael?
at all. Well, I mean, look, maybe.
How dumb are you to wear that shirt?
Look, I hear you, and you can make an argument that he shouldn't have been wearing the shirt. But do I think this guy wants to play? Absolutely, I think he wants to play. And here's the other thing. The clock is ticking. What is this guy, 33 at this point? He's got a very limited window. It's not like he can decide in 10 years he wants to play.
I understand.
So I think he's got a limited window, and I think he recognizes it. I think he wants to play.
I think this is a conversation that maybe we can continue a little bit coming up next. We're going to have Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports joining us. By the way, Mike Babcock was fired yesterday, and when I first saw the story, I thought it was Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. No, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs head coach, Mike Babcock. We're going to talk to Mike coming up, and of course, the other Mike that is in studio, Michael Avenatti, is going to stick around, and maybe we can get into this a little bit more with Colin Kaepernick with Mike coming up next from TMZ Sports. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. By the way, Michael Avenatti has made some appearances on TMZ, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about that coming up next. Take a quick break. You're listening to The Vegas Take, 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
Don't buy a new car until you hear this. Centennial Toyota is putting Black Friday savings on every vehicle for not just one day or even one weekend, but all month long. Yes, Centennial Toyota announces Black Friday savings all month long. We're making it easier than ever to get you out of that old car and into a new Toyota. Lease a new 2019 Toyota RAV4 just $199 a month. That's the all-new redesigned RAV4 with room for the whole family, just $199 a month. Or shop hundreds of your favorite Toyota models, Camrys, Corollas, Tundras, Tacomas, Highlanders, Prius, and more. Hurry in for Black Friday savings all month long at Centennial Toyota. Conveniently located on North US 95 and the 215 Beltway. Or visit us at CentennialToyota.com. On approved credit, example model number 4430, 36 months, $39.99 due at signing, 0 security, excludes taxes, title, and $4.99 dealer fees. Expires 12/2/2019.
Does your child love math? Do they just love math so much that once they finish their homework, they want to work on extra math problems just for fun? Anyone? If you answered no, then you are not alone. While your child may not think math is important for their future, we know better. That's because Infinity the Math Institute offers the best math tutors in Las Vegas, produces the best results at the best prices for kids of all ages. Infinity the Math Institute does it all. Does your child need prep for the SATs? Right now, SAT preparation classes in November are just $15. Fractions, algebra, geometry, decimals, you name it. Plus, Infinity offers homeschool programs, free seminars for parents and students. And whether your child is transitioning from elementary school to middle school to high school, or preparing for college, Infinity can help. Classes are filling up. Call us now to find out more. 702-768-1777. That's 768-1777. You want the best results for your child? One call to Infinity can have a huge impact on your child's future. Call now. 768-1777. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you.
Hey everybody, Rachel Ray here. Nothing brings a bigger smile to my face than cooking up a big meal for the whole family and lots of friends. But there's not enough room at my table for the 17 million kids in our country who struggle with hunger. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks collects surplus food to give hope to hungry kids. But they can't do it without your help. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
There are lots of ways to be a kid. My way is to take a road that's not easy. So it's a good thing I'm an adventurer. That's why I'm going to be a Cub Scout, because scouting will guide me to really big things. So scout me in.
Okay, men, time to be an all-star caregiver. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, be there emotionally and physically. Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
1015 FM, 720 AM, the talk of Las Vegas.
Special report House impeachment inquiry. Russia expert Fiona Hill was asked how she feels about Hunter Biden having been on the board of a Ukraine company, while then Vice President Biden was seeking anti-corruption reforms in Ukraine.
I think any family member of any member of the U.S. government, Congress, or the Senate is open to all kinds of questions about optics and of perhaps undue outside influence if they take part in any kind of activity that could be misconstrued as being related to their parent or other family member's work. So as a matter of course, yes, I do think that's the case.
The ranking member, Devin Nunes, was asking Hill about the Steele dossier on Donald Trump that Democrats paid for.
Dr. Hill, do you think it's appropriate for political parties to pay operatives to dig up dirt on their opponents?
I do not.
Hill warned lawmakers against promoting what she called a fictional narrative that minimizes Russia's attempts to interfere in the 2016 U.S. elections. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads in the K-Don Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Dispatch Health. An accident reported on the 215 Southern Beltway eastbound at Eastern Avenues at the on-ramp, not blocking the through lanes. And a crash reported at Desert Inn Road east of Paradise. Injury sustained. Watch for police and fire, possible slowing and restrictions. And a crash also on Smoke Ranch Road at Professional Court. One more, it's a crash. Injuries sustained at Desert Inn at Joe Brown Drive. And when you're sick, every minute counts. Go to dispatchhealth.com where high-quality medical care comes to you. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about medical professionals who make house calls. Dispatch Health, covered by most insurance. John Michaels from the K-Don Traffic Center.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. The world is changing. Isn't it time smoking changed too? Vuse Alto is a vapor product offering you a satisfying alternative to cigarettes. Simple to use, surprisingly quiet, and impressively powerful. Our best vapor yet at our best price ever, 99 cents, plus tax at participating retailers. 99-cent offer applies to Alto device. Pods sold separately. Underage sale prohibited.
Are you taking Cialis or Viagra? Marley Drug has generics of both for just $12 per tablet. That's a savings of $60 per dose. Marley Drug is an independent pharmacy delivering generic Cialis and Viagra to your door for $12 per tablet. Call Marley Drug at 800-870-4787. That's 800-870-4787. Again, 800-870-4787.
And now more Straight Talk from Straight Talk. The big wireless guys try to saddle you with expensive wireless plans because that's how they earn big commissions.
Saddled? What am I, a horse?
No, you are not. That's why with Straight Talk Wireless, you get our unlimited plan for just $45 a month with 25 gigs at high speeds. No contract, no saddle.
Oh, like a wild wireless stallion.
Uh-huh, sure. Switch today and get America's best networks for up to half the cost. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See straighttalk.com.
Imagine crossing a street busy with traffic. Against the light.
Watch where you're going.
Wearing a blindfold. Would you do this? Probably not. It's one risk obviously not worth taking. Some risks aren't as obvious, yet could be just as deadly, like the risk for type 2 diabetes. If you're overweight or over 45, if you're not very active, or don't eat as healthy as you should, there's an easy test you can take to find out your risk. It's free, and in less than a minute, you'll know if you're at risk for this deadly disease. Just go to diabetes.org/take-the-test or call 1-800-DIABETES. Because type 2 diabetes is one risk you can't afford to take. Take the diabetes risk test and stop diabetes before it stops you. A message from the American Diabetes Association.
Distracted driving means
danger,
recklessness,
irresponsible,
chaos, police,
devastation,
injury,
tears,
death.
Safe driving means staying alert and staying alive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Consider making a really positive, lasting impact in the life of a child. I'm Molly Lathan for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southern Nevada. Our goal is to put together long-term friendships. Many people don't know that it only takes 4 to 6 hours a month. Be a role model, a support, be a wise adult sounding board, and basically just be their friend. Please visit our website at bbbsn.org and click on volunteer.
Imagine a time when no one person has Parkinson's disease, is debilitated by a stroke, and no family suffers the tragedy of Alzheimer's. Some of the best minds in America are doing more than imagining. The American Brain Foundation is seeking to find cures, where life without brain disease isn't just something we can imagine, it's something we can know.
Join Kevin Sorbo in the fight to cure brain disease. For more information, visit AmericanBrainFoundation.org.
We want to take a moment to thank you, our community, for always supporting our efforts at the Shade Tree Shelter. The Shade Tree offers safe shelter for homeless and abused women and children. We help about 15 families a day, 6,500 families per year, and we can't do that without you. If you want to get involved and volunteer at the Shade Tree, please email us at volunteer@theshadetree.org. And if you want more information, check out our website at theshadetree.org. Thanks again to our wonderful Las Vegas community.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
This week, I hear him literally say that I don't think we should legalize marijuana. I thought you might have been high when you said it. Let me tell you.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us, and we have Michael Avenatti in studio as well. It is Thursday, folks, and you know what that means. It means we have TMZ's Mike Babcock. But I want to start, Mike, by telling you this. I was reading all the headlines yesterday in the sports section of the newspaper, and it said, Mike Babcock fired. And I said, oh, my God, this is our longtime TMZ guy. What happened? He lost his job? And then I learned out it was the Toronto Maple Leafs head coach. So, Mike, we're glad to see that you are still employed at TMZ and Harvey's still writing you checks.
I'm another step closer to taking over this name. This guy, if I ever Google myself, he always comes up. But you know, I'm a step closer now to owning the Mike Babcock name. But yeah, I'm happy it wasn't me. I know a lot of people out there were probably disappointed that it wasn't me, but I am still here.
Well, I wanted to also say, you know, the guy we have with us in studio right now, he's made plenty of appearances on TMZ. It is Michael Avenatti. Michael, would you like to say hello to Mr. Babcock?
Hello, Mr. Babcock. Congratulations on being one step closer.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that.
So let's start off with the breaking news. Let's go with Myles Garrett. I think this is a ridiculous claim, saying that Mason Rudolph hurled the racial slur, calling him the N-word. Let's all be honest here, and this is right there on TMZ. You guys broke this story. Let's call this for what it is. If that was true, I mean, Myles Garrett spoke to the media right after this incident. He didn't. Don't you think he would have mentioned that to the media? Hey, this guy called me the N-word. Listen, Myles Garrett is a liar, and he is full of crap. That is what I say, Babcock. What do you say?
Yeah, it's puzzling, right? And Myles Garrett had the opportunity after the game to say, the reason I did this crazy thing on the football field that we've never seen before was because Mason Rudolph said this horrible racial slur to me. And I think it maybe not would have fully excused what Myles Garrett did, because I think he probably could have killed Mason Rudolph. But I think it would have went a long way in, kind of letting people understand why he lashed out the way that he did. But we didn't hear anything about this. And now when at least this guy's career in the short term is on the line, and we're talking about millions and millions of dollars, because it's not just a suspension for the final few games this year. It's an indefinite suspension that I know a lot of people believe could go through a good majority of next year, or even the entire season next year. So there's a lot on the line, and I think now Myles Garrett has come up with what he thinks would be kind of an acceptable reason for his behavior. But it's really come at the expense of Mason Rudolph, and I know his attorney is really pissed off. She came out with a statement a few minutes ago here where he's vehemently denied, saying anything that would resemble a racial slur. And I know they're very upset. I think they feel like when they were victimized physically on the football field, and now here his reputation is taking a hit as a result of what Myles Garrett says.
And you're right. He could have actually been killed. Myles Garrett's 6'4", 270 pounds. He had 33 bench reps at 225 pounds. The average NFL helmet weighs 6 pounds. He was from an elevated position. I mean, had he connected, I believe that Mason Rudolph would have a traumatic brain injury for sure.
Oh, yeah. I heard a doctor talking the other day. Said, yes, if you hit him with that crown of that helmet, there's a good chance that guy never comes off the football field.
I believe that.
And also, we know he had just sustained a few weeks earlier a concussion, so he's already dealing with a head injury. And I think we've seen with the way the concussions work, with kind of repeat head trauma can be even more dangerous. So, Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph are both lucky that it ended the way it did. But I think
and so is the NFL.
Well, look, there's no question that it was serious. I don't know that it warrants a year suspension or an indefinite suspension. I mean, heat of the moment, no question it was a very dangerous situation, that it's serious. I just don't know that it warrants such a lengthy suspension. But let me say this. What I consider to be more important, they should investigate Garrett's claim as to whether Rudolph said this. And if it is shown that Rudolph did not say this and that was fabricated, Garrett should be done forever.
I agree.
And
I totally agree with that.
Garrett should never be permitted to play in the NFL again if he fabricated this accusation that Rudolph used a racial slur. That's how serious I take it, because what it does is it demeans when other people have legitimate claims of racism, okay? And it creates a further racial tension, if you will, within the league and within the community. They should investigate Garrett's claim. And if Rudolph did not say this, in my view, Garrett should be written off.
Michael, it is just like when a woman claims sexual assault or rape and she fabricates it, like that Duke lacrosse situation. Yeah. And what Michael's talking about, I could not agree more. It's the same thing. When it makes it more difficult for actual people that were actual victims of sexual assault.
And it sets.
Well, I think the positive thing here is that we know NFL games and how many microphones they have all over the place. Microphones on players, so
right.
Hopefully here the NFL is going to be able to go back and they'll be able to actually figure out whether or not this happened, and if it did, I'm sure.
I mean, look, this isn't that difficult. There's a bunch of players around. They should go to the players. Yeah. Did you hear this? And if Garrett's the only one that heard it, And if it's shown that he fabricated it, as far as I'm concerned, he should be done.
I agree. He's full of crap.
And it's a real issue that that we're at the state right now with racial relations where he thinks he can say something like this and use it as a scapegoat to justify his horrendous behavior.
Well, here's another. I agree. Here's another story we have on TMZ, and this is actual evidence. We all know what the NFL's Mark Walton did, punching his pregnant girlfriend. We have some riveting audio, and I want to play it for everyone. And then, Mike, I want you to comment on this. This is the sobbing woman. This is the girlfriend of Mark Walton after he apparently punched her in the face. This is a pregnant woman. This is the 911 call.
Your boyfriend beat you up?
Yes.
Okay. Is he still there now?
He just left, but I think he's coming back because he took the talk to you.
Okay. How long ago did this happen?
Like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, and his friend was here.
Okay.
I mean, that is just riveting, chilling audio, Babcock, isn't it?
Yeah, it's upsetting to hear in her voice how scared, how upset she is. And then when you think about that this woman is 5 weeks pregnant, it's tough. It's really difficult. The police ultimately were able to track him down, they arrest him, been charged with aggravated battery, and now facing 15 years in prison. But to think that this guy could do that, allegedly do that to his girlfriend who has a baby growing inside of her is disgusting. Terrible.
Last subject I wanted to bring up, we've been talking a lot about Colin Kaepernick over the course of the last few days. The Kente shirt that he wore, what I thought was a sham of a tryout or job interview. Now Terrell Owens is actually blasting Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. actually believes me in this. In fact, he tweeted something out immediately saying that Kaepernick is not serious about playing in the NFL. So this is Terrell Owens, in his own words, blasting Stephen A. Smith over this Colin Kaepernick criticism.
First of all, like I said, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, any of y'all that want to debate me in front of black people and talk about what I don't march lockstep with every single thing that Colin Kaepernick wants. Okay, excuse me. Hold on, wait a minute.
I'm not agreeing.
Wait a minute.
I'm not agreeing with everything that Colin Kaepernick has done.
I'm not saying that, but you said, you just sat up there and used an expression, more blacker. Excuse me, I'm from Hollis, Queens, New York City. You ain't the only brother out there that's in the streets. I'm in the streets every day. I get it. And so let's be very clear. And you damn well know that's the truth.
So what do you make of that audio, Mike? That was something else.
Yeah, obviously Stephen A's job is to debate, but you could tell that what Terrell said there really struck a nerve, and that really upset him. Look, and we know Stephen A. Smith, he spoke out a little bit against Colin Kaepernick, and he's not the only one. I think we've seen several other leaders in the black community who have spoken out against what went on last week. Yeah. And which seemed like a sham all the way around. I think it was a sham on the NFL's part. I think it was a sham on Colin's part. I think there's plenty of blame to go all the way around. They clearly have so much distrust between both of the sides there. And I think with Colin and the NFL, I think that is now completely passed and the door is set on that. But you could tell that Stephen A. was very upset. I think he was really upset by the interaction. Him and Eric Reed had a pretty fierce kind of interaction on social media. And I think when Terrell said that to him this morning, I think he was very upset by that.
I like those comments because I thought they were real. I thought that was a real moment. That wasn't fake. And I think we need more of that on TV.
He was being very sincere.
I don't think it's fair that just because somebody is not in 100% agreement with what Colin Kaepernick does or says, and then they get blasted just because they don't agree with everything. I think that's really unfair.
It's never a good idea to basically accuse somebody of not being black enough.
No, it's probably not a good idea. I'll tell you what I wanted to do, what would be Mike Babcock's worst nightmare right now. I wanted Mike Babcock to get into a debate with you, Michael Avenatti, on why he is a Trump supporter. But something tells me Mike Babcock, that's probably the last thing in the world he wants to talk about right now. Isn't that true,
you're believing the wrong stories, Brian. You're believing these fraudulent stories out there.
Hey, Mike, I take back what I said earlier. Hey, Mike, I take back what I said earlier. I had no idea of your political persuasion. I hope that Maple Leafs coach gets a new job coaching the L.A. Lakers or some high-profile team. Okay, so your Google rank will go to like page 38.
SEO death.
Yeah, I want you to suffer an SEO death.
Hey, Mike. So we had a minor discussion last segment about Colin Kaepernick. Do you think that he is actually making less money now than he would have made as an NFL quarterback the last couple of years?
No, I think he's making a good living, and I've actually been told that he's making a good living and is having no problems money-wise. But I mean, I don't think anything that he's doing now he couldn't also do along with being on a team and getting an NFL paycheck. So I don't know. I don't even know if he actually wants to play in the NFL. I think that this keeps him very relevant and it keeps him in the forefront of everybody's mind. But I don't think he's doing any of this. I don't think it's really motivated by money. Or if it is, we never have enough money.
There is no question he is relevant. I don't think anybody would debate that.
Extremely relevant.
Listen, Mike, I always appreciate it when you take some time to join us every week, my man. Have a great weekend, and we will catch up with you next week.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk then.
All
Go
right.
Maple Leafs.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
All right. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate it. Okay, it's going to be our last segment with Michael Avenatti coming up next. We're going to just give everybody a quick update on the proceedings this morning in the impeachment inquiry and get Michael's thoughts on that. We're going to take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.
So what would you do with an extra $500 a month in your budget? $500. This isn't hypothetical, by the way. This is something you may need to think about very soon if you decide to become a member of MediShare. MediShare is a way to pay for your health care, and typically it costs $500 less per month for a family versus other health care plans. So seriously, think about this. You could pay off loans, pay down a mortgage, save the money for retirement, donate to charity. That would be a big deal. But you know what? Here's the best thing. MediShare works. It's a Christian healthcare sharing ministry with 400,000 members. They've shared over $2 billion in medical bills, so they can help share your needs too. And with MediShare, not only do you save, you don't have to pay for things you don't believe in. And that's a beautiful thing too. So here's how you can find out more, and you might actually wind up saving even more than $500 a month. So check into it. 844-91-BIBLE. That's 844-91-BIBLE. 844-91-BIBLE.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Hi, Doug Basham here. Join me Saturday afternoons from 2 to 4, and I'll tell you what your conservative, corporate-controlled, right-wing propaganda hate media isn't. You're welcome. That's Saturday afternoons, 2 to 4. Be there.
Nevada veterans need your help. The National Association of American Veterans is a 501c3 nonprofit organization providing support for veterans who are most in need. Emergency assistance, housing, medical care, counseling, and legal assistance are just a few of the services they provide. The National Association of American Veterans, NAAVets.org, helps veterans and their family members who are homeless and in critical need, and they need your help today. Please make your tax-deductible donation at NAAVets.org or call 866-559-8387. Veterans and their families have made the ultimate sacrifice, and they deserve our support and assistance. There are local Nevada vets in crisis now, and you can make a difference. Right now, a local 65-year-old Army vet, Glenn, is about to be evicted after the VA cut his benefits. And Ronald, another Las Vegas Army vet, will soon find himself in the same situation. Call 866-559-8387 or visit NAAVets.org and click on Donate today.
Amid Las Vegas's glitz and glamour lurks the tragedy of homeless veterans, our nation's heroes who return from war but continue to fight a battle for survival on our city's gritty streets. The basic human need of shelter shouldn't be a luxury to military heroes, which is why there is Veterans Village. Veterans Village is a nonprofit organization providing transitional housing, meals, and social services to homeless vets to give them a hand up. Veterans Village is a place of hope, but we can't do it without you. Be a hero to heroes and donate any amount you can afford at vvlv.org. That's vvlv.org. vvlv.org.
Hey everybody, Rachel Ray here. Nothing brings a bigger smile to my face than cooking up a big meal for the whole family and lots of friends. But there's not enough room at my table for the 17 million kids in our country who struggle with hunger. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks collects surplus food to give hope to hungry kids. But they can't do it without your help. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
I'm in the streets every day, and you damn well know that's the truth.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro wrapping up what has been a very fun Thursday. Michael Avenatti. Michael, it's not so easy doing a 3-hour show, is it? It's mentally draining. I'm tired after doing 3 hours every day. This isn't a 5-minute CNN segment, okay? Although you did do The View. You have done some long-form interviews. But this is, what do you think? 3 hours of radio. It's mentally draining, is it not?
It's somewhat.
Well, you're used to these trials and being in court 15 hours.
But you want me to tell you? You want me to tell you how?
I want you to paint me out to be a hero.
Right.
Yeah.
And look, you know what? This is exhausting. I don't know how you guys do this.
That's
every
all
day.
I wanted.
This is unbelievable.
I wanted you to give me a little bit of credit.
It's unbelievable. I don't know how long. How you guys do this every day? How's that possible?
That's all I wanted to hear.
Oh my God! It's so impressive.
That's all I wanted to hear.
I appreciate your honesty.
Yes, thank you, Michael. That means a lot to me. I really do.
Let's be real. A 12 to 15 hour deposition is probably much worse.
Well, I would just
no,
shoot
but look,
myself
this is
if I had
not.
to do that.
Listen, this is in all seriousness, this is not easy. I mean, you guys have to be on for 3 hours. You got to deal with a bunch of different issues, and it is challenging. There's no question about it.
But it's fun. We like it.
It really helps that we have severe cases of ADD. Both of us.
Oh, yeah, I have the worst ADD
really
on the
helps
planet.
a
I'm
lot.
like a bird. I mean, I just can't keep myself on one
Because
thing.
we can transition seamlessly from topic to topic to topic.
Speaking of topics, if you might have not already heard, the impeachment inquiry hearings continued today. David Holmes, he's the counsel for political affairs at the U.S. Embassy. He said Rudy Giuliani's activities were brought up during a meeting about Zelensky's inauguration. Have a listen to this.
Over the following months, it became apparent that Mr. Giuliani was having a direct influence on the foreign policy agenda that the three amigos were executing on the ground in Ukraine. In fact, at one point during a preliminary meeting of the inaugural delegation, someone wondered aloud why Mr. Giuliani was so active in the media with respect to Ukraine. My recollection is that Ambassador Sondland stated, quote, "Damn it, Rudy, every time Rudy gets involved, he goes and F's everything up."
What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, a couple things. First of all, Rudy Giuliani had no business being involved in the foreign affairs of the United States. He doesn't have a security clearance. He's not a governmental official. He doesn't work at the State Department. It is clear why Rudy Giuliani was involved at the direction of President Trump, and that is because Trump knew that what he was doing was wrong. He needed somebody that he could trust to stay loyal to him, and someone that would report directly to Trump. And that's why he used Rudy Giuliani to carry out this effort to get the Ukrainians to launch these investigations. Actually, what we learned yesterday, and this is critically important, they weren't even so much interested in the actual investigations occurring as opposed to the investigations being announced. Now, why is that important? Because it shows that this argument that what Trump really wanted was to ferret out corruption and get to the bottom of it is a bunch of nonsense. They didn't care about the results of the investigation. They just wanted the announcement so they could use it for political purposes.
They wanted Joe Biden to look bad.
They wanted something that they could hang their hat on and make the 2020 election, if Biden was the nominee and he was the biggest threat to them and is the biggest threat to them, they wanted something that they could use in the campaign against Biden. But let me say this about Rudy Giuliani. With each passing witness, it becomes more apparent to me that this whole thing could come down to what Rudy Giuliani is willing to do or say, and whether he will break ranks with Trump. And whether, because look, this guy knows where all the bodies are buried, or at least many, many of them, certainly enough bodies to bury Donald Trump's presidency. So number one, I think it's going to come down to what Rudy Giuliani does or says. Number two, it is apparent to me that the reason why there's been these announcements and leaks about the Department of Justice investigating Rudy Giuliani criminally is so that the Trump administration can keep Rudy Giuliani under their thumb and keep him on the reservation. You see, as long as there's a threat of criminal charges against Rudy Giuliani, he knows that the consequences of him breaking ranks with Donald Trump could bring the power of the Department of Justice and William Barr down on him, and it is a hell of a hammer.
And it's actually deeper than that. His son, Andrew Giuliani, is the White House sports liaison for Donald Trump. He's making $91,000 a year, and his entire job is to bring professional athletes to the White House.
Mm-hmm. Well, make no mistake about it. These proceedings are not ending. There's going to be more witnesses. More people are going to be testifying. I believe eventually Bolton will testify. There's nothing positive coming out of this for Donald Trump. And for Republicans out there that want to say, well, this is going to make people vote for Donald Trump and this makes Donald Trump look better, the Democrats are looking bad. That's a bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of BS. But the real question I want to ask Michael Avenatti is, how did your night go in Las Vegas last night? That's more important than the impeachment proceedings.
Well, we had a great dinner, and then we hit the dollar blackjack table. I got to tell you, these casinos are really good at what they do.
They kind of are. They pump oxygen into the casino. Their job is to take your money, and they do a very good job.
I was awake totally. I wasn't tired at all.
Yeah.
They did a great job pumping the oxygen.
Well, Michael, I always appreciate it. You're not just a friend of the show, but you're a friend of ours, and we really do appreciate it when you come in here and do the show with us. It means a lot. And obviously, you're a prominent guy. You know a lot of people. And, getting some of the guests that you've gotten for us, it very much so is appreciated.
I just don't know how you guys do it. It's so exhausting.
What a jerk. I'm not going to call you CPL. That's the only way I could get back at you.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go Tucker Carlson on you, but I was really close there for a moment.
You can't use that forbidden acronym, Brian.
I was
Grow
really.
up.
People have called me creepy all the time. It's just Tucker is one of the most the creepiest guys on TV.
It may be warranted, but you don't have a porn vault. At least that I know of.
That's true.
You may have a storage unit somewhere in Vegas.
Listen, if there are any porn stars out there that need representation, I will absolutely give them your number. Is that okay? Do you give me permission?
Absolutely not. In light of what has transpired over the last 18 months, the first word starts with an F and the second word is no.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
No AF.
Fair enough. Michael, I always appreciate it when you come in, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Michael.
You're a busy guy. You doing 3 hours of radio with us, it certainly does mean a lot. By the way, if you missed anything, check us out on our Twitter page at The Vegas Take. Also, our YouTube page, The Vegas Take. We are everywhere. We appreciate all of our guests. Anthony Scaramucci, John Kasich, Tom Arnold. All right, we have a 21-hour break. We will see you tomorrow. Sean Hannity coming up next.
The only FM news talk station in the Valley. 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KD.